electrifying sport on the planet. Mixed martial arts. You've been looking for the definitive podcast to call your new home to hear everything about it. The search is over. This is the MMAnomaly Show. No filter. Bringing you the hottest MMA breakdowns straight from the heart of the octagon. This show is all about MMA breakdowns. For fans, by fans. We're talking UFC, MMA, and the occasional big boxing match. We'll bring our unique take on how these fights are going to play out and who we think are the best bets. Welcome to the MMAnomaly Show. No filter. And now your hosts, Olin, a.k.a. MMAnomaly, and Emiliano, a.k.a. Jive Turkey Nano.
What is up, fight fans? Welcome back to another episode of the MMAnomaly Show, No Filter. I'm your host, Olin, a.k.a. MMAnomaly, and with me, as always, is the co-host with the most, Jive Turkey Nano. How we doing, Nano?
Here we go, baby. I am doing fantastic on this fine Tuesday evening. I'm still high off this weekend, man. I'm still riding the wave. It was tsunami-esque. I'm over here like Johnny Ventura out here just riding, or Johnny Tsunami. I got the Ace Ventura shirt on, so it threw me off.
Johnny Tsunami.
Had to throw that reference in there, man. Feeling good, man. What a night. What a weekend it was. Can't wait to break it down with you. Ladies and gentlemen, this was probably one of the best fight cards through and through we've seen maybe in my lifetime, y'all. I mean, I don't know. And I've been around for 30 years. That's all of the UFC's lifetime. It was quite a good one, brother. I mean, hey. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong, Olin. Talk to me, brother.
I wish I could tell you were wrong, my friend, but I really can't. The simple fact of the matter is it was the best fight card I've seen in as long as I can remember, my guy. Like, it truly was firing on all cylinders, as we like to say. Somebody sound the air horns because they got it done this weekend, folks.
They got it done. I mean, some phenomenal performances that happened, some shocks, some highs, some lows. We got just about everything we needed, man. Some big stars in the building there. Miami showed out. We knew it was going to be a good thing. We knew it was going to be a lot of buzz when we saw how excited people were at the press conferences leading in on the weigh-ins. Oh, man, something was in the air. That was so exciting, man. It was good. Absolutely. I wish I was there. Oh,
my goodness. So do I. I definitely wish I was there as well. Before we kick off into the actual breakdowns and kind of what we think is next for the biggest winners here, gotta ask, without breaking down the event in its entirety or the fight in its entirety, what was the most shocking moment of the night for you?
I mean, to be honest, and it happened pretty early on, but that Rebellis fight, just I think that quick montage was definitely very shocking. Something we'll be breaking down here pretty soon, but Rebellis is Spain and his ability to win performance of the night, get the knockout there in 18 seconds. It was crazy. That was shocking in the fact that when it happened, I jumped to my feet. We're sitting in the hotel room getting ready, and I'm, let's go. This is crazy, man. So that was a shocking one. But a lot of fun highlights for sure. The other one that, actually, I think you're probably going to say my next one, but I'm curious to hear what shocked you as well.
Well, there's a lot of different reasons to have been shocked across the UFC 299 in its entirety. I think the Rebellis de Spain knockout was probably the craziest. But I will also say, Joanna Calderwood. We don't always get to see somebody get their fairy tale ending, the happy ending that they deserve. And Joanne Wood dropped the Calder, kept the wood. She's one of those people that truly deserve that happy ending, and it didn't look good for her in round one. She got taken down. She got taken down hard, and she was kept there. She was controlled there for a hot minute. And again, it didn't look like it was going to go her way. It didn't look like she was off to a great start there. And she weathered the storm. She came back extremely strong. And those knees, she just looked nasty in the clinch, at range. And we're going to break that down fight in just a couple seconds because it's literally the first fight on the card. But that was probably one of the most shocking kind of moments of the night for me. As far as just outright shock value, like what made me literally probably Curtis Blades against Jailton Almeida.
Yeah, I knew it.
The big boys seeing him just he basically was like, nah, I'm tired of this shit. I'm gonna knock this guy out.
Rage the zero button. Spam.
It was nasty how quick those elbows were coming down on him. And I mean, it was a matter of time. Wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when he went out from him. So yeah, we'll go over that one too in its entirety. Yeah, those were definitely some of the shocking moments, but there were so many more.
I mean, Dustin's ending sequence definitely had us on the edge of our feet as well, did it not? My goodness. I mean, woof, what an ending sequence there. And then the guillotines, I mean, everything about it, man. Just so many fun highlights. Sugar Sean's knee that basically echoed throughout the entire arena. I mean, there were some big moments, man. Again, excited to break it down here in order. We're jumping ahead a little bit, but just a lot of highlights, a lot of things we had to just get off our chest here, man.
100%. Again, there was a lot of shocking moments, and we will go over all of them soon. So, jumping into the very early prelims, we had Joanne Wood coming in against Marina Moroz. It didn't look good for our girl Joanne Wood in the beginning of the fight here, folks. She started off pretty tough, pretty rough. Marina Moroz, heavily dominant in the first round. But I digress. That fight just completely and totally changed across the distance, right? The way that Joanne Wood was able to take over that fight was truly something to behold. I truly thought that the way that she was able to get it done was more impressive than the fact that she got it done. She landed 173 total strikes to 156. By the way, 136 of those were significant strikes. And the way that she was able to divvy everything up, right? Like 23 of those strikes were to the legs, 39 of them were to the body, and then 74 of them were to the head. So, you know, she was not playing favoritism with anything. She was constantly changing levels, constantly changing targets, and just staying out of the way of her opponents herself. So great on her. Brilliant retirement, great career. Somebody that definitely should have fought for a title, but just didn't want to wait and decided to ultimately take a fight that maybe she shouldn't have taken against. What was it?
I know she lost it though, didn't she?
She did. Yeah, she took a fight. It was against.
It was a stud,
right?
Let's see. This was a couple of years ago, wasn't it? Was it Grasso? No, someone else.
No, it was before that. It was.
It might have been Jennifer Maia, maybe. Was it back during COVID?
It was Jennifer Maia.
Mm-hmm.
That's who it was. Mm-hmm. And she lost in the very first round via armbar, 4 minutes and 29 seconds in. So, again, I mean, maybe things could have been different for her. Maybe she could have been a world champion if she had just kind of waited on that pedestal a little bit for that bout to come to fruition. But I'm not mad at her. She went out there. She's a fighter, and that's what she does. She fought. So, great on her for getting the win over Marina Moroz. Curious to hear what your thoughts were on that fight. Especially in between rounds 1 and 2. Did you think that would end up being the outcome?
Oh, brother, I appreciate the breakdown, man. I mean, I'm just going to echo what you said in the sense that round 1 was not good for our girl, Joanna Gallerwood. Definitely was worried about her. Was getting outstruck by her opponent, and Marina, and her being the younger opponent, younger fighter. That's who I was leaning. And I kind of was in my head thinking, okay, it's going to be a good start for you, boy. I'm, looking good. So far, so good. And then 5 minutes later, round 2 starts to take way. And Joanne Wood, let's just say she went out there and she handled business. Okay, she let her know, hey, I'm a grizzled veteran. Yeah, you may have got some good strikes early. You may have got that initial adrenaline dump and used some of your youth, some of your ability to move quicker and be the springier fighter at first. But all things go out the door after even just a minute of being in that octagon. So let alone 5 minutes later, I don't care how long you're on that stool. Now it's muscle memory. Now you're relying on just your primal instincts, and hopefully you can stay mentally locked in as well. But Joanne Wood showed that's what a veteran does. She's been in here and been in deeper waters and was able to weather the storm. So I was really impressed with her performance. You mentioned her really coming out strong those last 2 rounds. In that 3rd round, I believe it was some knees. I think she even landed a spinning back fist that almost had Marina out of there, which would have been an even bigger exclamation point to this victory. But ended up getting to the judges, and they saw the same way we saw it, and that she won the last 10 minutes of this 15-minute fight. So big shout out to Duran Wood. What a way to go out. Marina Moreau, still an absolute savage. She looked phenomenal in there, had her moments. Unfortunately, I think she might have gassed herself out a little bit, and that we've seen that happen a couple times here on Saturday, but this tends to happen a lot of times to the maybe younger, less experienced fighter. You think you're going to get him out of there, you quote unquote blow your load, or you just try to swarm in and take care of him right away. Well, what happens when you don't get him out of there? Now you're gassed out. Your stamina's at 0%. And if you've ever played UFC, you're 0%, you're gonna get knocked out now. Okay, that's bad news. That's bad news bears. Okay. So yeah, man. Again, wanted thank you. Just reiterate, you mentioned all the great points there. I agree with you. Whoops, excuse me. Muted a little bit there. Great outing. But excited to see what's next for Marina, and hopefully she can continue to develop and make those strides in her career. But huge shout out to Duran Wood. I mean, potential Hall of Famer, right? And maybe you could put that in there for the female division, to fight for 10 years, to have a 50% record. I mean, hey, I'll take it. And the other thing too is, like you mentioned, timing is a big thing we talked about. And you mentioned her not wanting to wait for that matchup against Valentina Shevchenko, who was obviously the perennial champion for a long time. She didn't want to wait. She fought someone else. She lost. Now that title fight is no longer there, right? You lose one, you lose 2 in a row. Maybe you win one. You're trying to get back, and the stars never aligned. And that's how close it can get, right? Sometimes you're that close to winning or not. And there was another fighter on the co-main, that similar kind of situation. Obviously Dustin's got an interim championship, but for all the stars to align, no matter how good you are, it takes a lot. Sometimes it is the timing and how you manage that. So huge shout out, but man, what a fun start to the night.
Absolutely stellar start to the night, in my humble opinion. I thought that it couldn't have gone better for her. Again, the way that she went out there and did it, it was just a testament to her career in its entirety, right? Surviving the storm and just showing what she's made of. And I mean, she's made of leather, folks. She showed it. So great for her. Good on her. And we applaud her in retirement. I hope her next chapter is a good one. I hope it's her best one. So looking forward to what she does next. Maybe she will be somebody that's training the future of women's MMA. We can only hope, right? So moving into the next fight, we had CJ Vergara coming in against Asu Almabayev. I mean, this one went pretty much exactly how I anticipated it to go. I thought Almabayev was going to come out there and be fairly dominant on top, but that it might be a grindy, windy kind of fight. Folks, guess what? It was a grindy, windy kind of fight, and Asu ended up in a pretty dominant position. 3 minutes and 14 seconds of control time in the first round, 3 minutes and 35 seconds of control time in the second round, and 2 minutes of 43 seconds in the third and final round, coming in at 9 minutes and 32 total seconds of control time across the fight, compared to 14 seconds in his opponent, CJ Vergara. He also landed at a higher clip on his significant strike percentage, landing 57% compared to 54% of his opponent, which looked like 44 strikes landed compared to 29 because his output was also much higher. And he also landed more total strikes. So his total strikes were 85 compared to 66. When he was deciding to go, he was going pretty hard. It just, for me, it was kind of a grindy, windy fight, which is what I anticipated it being. Didn't necessarily grow the most stock for Asu Almabayev. Will I bet on him the next time he's out there? Probably, depending on who he's matched up against. But am I supremely excited to watch the kid fight again? Not necessarily. He's not at the top of my list. He's in a fairly exciting division. Flyweights are typically pretty exciting, in my opinion. And he's going to have to fight a hell of a who's who to make his way up that ladder. Curious to hear your thoughts on both CJ Vergara. I believe he missed weight as well. And Asu Almabayev. How high do you think the ceiling is for this kid? Do you think he's possibly a future champion?
In regards to our boy CJ, he did miss weight by 3 pounds. And I think had I have known that going into it, or maybe been privy to that, I would not have, taken those picks last week when we were going into the fights. But no, all things considered, I mean, Asu, his ability to wrestle is clear. I mean, he's really athletic. He's really one-dimensional, right? I think you mentioned, hey, may not have been the most exciting or showed that he's, ready to see a ranked opponent tomorrow. It's like, no. He still needs to develop. He's still a young kid. Would like to see him continue to make strides in the striking department because granted, and I was trying to caveat this because I don't know how much of it is just CJ carrying that extra weight, not going through the grueling punishment of the 3 pounds. He probably was a little bit fresher. And he did look good all throughout the 15 minutes there in regards to the striking. He did not have an answer for the wrestling game, and that's really where Asu, I believe, won it when it comes to the scorecards. And when you watch it, I mean, it's just, CJ really didn't have much else other than a puncher's chance, which after a while you realize, okay, he was not going to be able to put him away. And like we kind of heard on the commentary, which I try to take it with a grain of salt, but DC was really adamant about CJ's just willingness to like accept the takedown, getting taken down. Like he didn't, even in the corner was talking about something along the lines of accepting it, or he keeps taking me down, or I don't know what to do. Something along those lines, or like it is what it is. And that's tough, right? When you're already admitting defeat and when you just know you don't have an answer and your opponent's going to keep doing it. And after a while, you start to get a little gun shy. I mean, he was keeping his hands low, or that's what it was. He had like one hand up, one hand down, and he's like, well, he keeps taking me down. I don't know what else to do. And it's like, well, okay, you're kind of already admitting defeat in a way. That's not a fighter that's going out and being tactical or trying to. I mean, at the end of the day, I guess maybe right? When you're in the octagon and you're in front of someone, you can only do so much, but he fought hard. He did what he could. Hate that he missed weight. Never want to see that. But yeah, I think Asu's still a few fights away. I think, to answer your question earlier, does he have a shot to be a champion? Man, anyone with a dominant wrestling game has a legitimate chance. I'll say that. Legit. But is he there right now? No. Do I need to see more? Yeah. And will I be excited to maybe see him get back in there? I would. But I want to see a step up in competition level for sure. Maybe someone in that top 25 range, someone else that's young, that's itching to get in there, another young dog that you can get these both fighters to square off it against. So that's where I'm at with that one, brother.
Yeah, I completely agree with those sentiments. I do think that he has no ceiling as of right now. He seems limitless. He has a very, very dominant grappling game, and that's exactly what you need in order to become a champion in the UFC these days. So the ceiling is high, if at all existent, for this kid. And as you said, he definitely needs a handful more fights. I think maybe 3 fights like this one, dominant, over people right outside of the top 15 for the first one, and then people inside the top 15 for the next 2. He's not that far away from a title shot, this kid. I mean, he's already 19-2. He's got an impressive career. If he continues to string him along like he already has, the guy shows a lot of promise. So moving into the next one, we have Josh Parisian coming in against Robelis de Spain. Oh man, oh man, oh man, oh it's. I'm going to let you go ahead and take the lead on this one. Sheesh.
I mean, we can be quick because the fight was all about 18 seconds. So maybe I don't need to be much longer than that. But my goodness, this guy not only looks the part, but man, does he have all of the capabilities that you need to put your lights out, right? I mean, that's just the truth. That's just the Lord's honest truth right there, man. That's just a fact, okay? And he won performance of the night, and it was due to his ability to respond in the heat of the moment, in the face of danger, right? He threw one strike in his Taekwondo style-esque, threw it, landed on his butt. That's okay. These things happen. But then you got a freaking rhino running at you, and Josh Parisian, you're thinking, oh boy. Octagon shaking, big boys are moving. And as he's moving backwards, it reminded me of an Anderson Silva on Forrest Griffin-esque like punch on his back foot. Just lands a nice clean right hand right on the jaw. Push Josh, stops the train in his tracks. And then a couple more for good measure. But my goodness, I mean, again, when you're that big, it doesn't take much. And he obviously showed within that ability to find your chin. You can land the mark He can hit the target. Bullseye, baby. 18 seconds. Hello. UFC debut. 50K in your pocket. Wow. Getting back in there ASAP. But that was really impressive. This boy might be a problem. What were some takeaways that you had, brother? And what do you think's next for the big kid, man? What are you thinking?
I mean, I think he's definitely going to be a problem. I'll tell you that right now. I mean, the guy has the longest reach in UFC history, possibly in MMA history, right? And he's just a freak of nature when it comes to just, again, how big he is. So I truly think that this guy is someone to watch. He's someone that obviously finishes fights. In his last 4 fights, he has been inside of the cage less than a minute. 4 fights, less than a minute, all finishes. I think in his 3 fights before this one, they were sitting at 19 seconds in totality between the 3 of them. And this finish took 18 seconds. So you can do the math on that, but I can tell you it's less than 40 freaking seconds, which is absolutely insane for 4 fights. What do I think is next for him? I really hate to say this out loud, but I think Derek Lewis probably wouldn't be a terrible matchup for him. Someone that's willing to stand and bang with him, someone that's not even going to try and take him down, and someone that has hands that are rated E for everyone. So I truly think that could be a fun matchup. If Derek Lewis isn't willing to fight downward like that, maybe, I don't know, stepping out on a limb here, loser of Tai Tuivasa versus Marcin Tybura. I don't think that's a terrible idea.
Oh, wow. Oh, so you do want to throw him all the way up there, huh? You want to catapult him to the top, the heavyweights?
Well, I mean, Marcin Tybura and Tai Tuivasa are sitting at 9 and 10. Derek Lewis is sitting at number 12. I just think he deserves somebody inside the top 15 with a name. Rodrigo Nascimento, with all due respect, isn't that name. Marcos Rogerio de Lima is not that name. Alexander Romanov, maybe, but still probably not. And Jairzinho Rozenstruik in his last fight, I mean, it was just a wrestling show, right? I don't think the UFC wants to do that to him. So those are the 3 fights that make the most sense to me. And if Tai Tuivasa loses to Marcin Tybura, he's probably going to drop to 11th, maybe even 12th. And same for Marcin Tybura. He would probably drop to 12th, maybe 13th. So it would be essentially 11th, 12th, or 13th versus him. It's a great cause for him to break into the top 15.
I like it.
I mean, he went out there and just absolutely dismantled his last opponent. And I mean, granted, I'm not going to come out here and pretend that Josh Parisian is an absolute world breaker. But at the same time, Josh Parisian has fought a number of UFC caliber fighters. I mean, the guy has fought Jamal Pogues, Alice Badeau, Dontel Mays, who, though he didn't look that great time before last, he looked really great in this last one. He's fought Parker Porter. So again, I just feel like, see how he does against someone that is a bigger name and a stronger name as well.
I like it, brother. And it makes sense for his age at 35 years old with that kind of performance and his accolades. He is an Olympic level Taekwondo fighter. So,
and it shows.
It makes sense.
He's a 265 pound man, and he has the twitch muscles of like a 185 pound man. Just insane.
And he did what everyone loves to see, and that's put the lights out of his opponent. So, yeah, I say get him back in there.
Absolutely. Just a wild right hook. Right hook Ricky made an appearance instead of left hook Larry. And we love to see it. So match him up quick and match him up with someone else thick. Moving into the next one, we had Michel, my fitness consigliere. Michel Pereira coming in against Michal Oleksiejczuk. I'm going to go ahead and pour up a shot here because I could not have been more wrong. Boy, oh boy. Hate to see it. This one was about as crazy as it gets because I'm going to be honest with you. We watched him walk out, me and Drew, and we thought, well, for sure, homie's going to be gas tired because he's doing a whole you got served style dance number, right? But instead, he came out like a man on fire. He looked better than I've ever seen him look. And I'll be goddamned if he almost didn't turn me into a fan. Because I've never been a big fan of this guy, the crazy flashy stuff that he does. But I mean, he went out there and got it done with just 11 strikes. By the way, all 11 strikes he landed were considered significant. All 15 he threw were considered significant. He shut his opponent out. Mikel was only able to land one shot. And when he went to that body, you just saw him absolutely collapse the ribs into the lungs. Mikhail couldn't catch his breath, and he couldn't catch his wind. He couldn't catch his timing. He couldn't catch his pacing. He couldn't catch a fucking break on Saturday night. I mean, all the guy could catch was knees to the body and whatever else Michel Pereira decided to throw. I mean, it was just a nasty performance for Michel. I feel like I just jumped and took the run on this one. But man, I had to follow his performance. Fucking guy.
No, bro, he's a beast, right? I mean, he's an absolute savage. I'm gonna do the shot with you, even though because no one does a shot by themselves. So
we do.
Cheers to Michael P.
Cheers.
Michel. But no, I like Joe Rogan's the comments he mentioned around that performance and the maturation that we needed to see from Michel. Because a lot of that, I mean, again, he's been fighting for the last 4 years. So he started the UFC, 26 years old, young. Let's face it, 26 years young, and a little more reckless, a little bit more flashy, and maybe his logic is, hey, I'm trying to make a name for myself. I'm trying to show out. And he's able to do so because he's so gosh darn athletic. I mean, you look at him, he looks like a comic book character. His muscles are chiseled out of granite rock. And then he does these explosive moves and strikes that are just so unprecedented. But now you're starting to see, again, some of that maturation, some good coaching, patience, and good shot selection. I mean, man, we're talking about a body shot. We're talking about 11 strikes that put down a tough son of a gun in Michael O. I mean, this guy is a legitimate middleweight, bro. And Michel made him mincemeat in there. I mean, that just goes to show what kind of athlete we're dealing with here. Goes to show what kind of power he possesses. And again, when he's not using all of his energy trying to climb the walls and run at you like a spider monkey, he can dial in some really good technical striking. He's great on the ground as well. He'll choke out if need be. I mean, this guy can be a problem, right? I mean, again, has not lost in 4 years. And technically that was a loss to Diego Sanchez, but he was DQ'd due to an illegal knee. So again, kind of more to just the mentality part there, not as much of like him losing because he could not beat a Diego Sanchez. He kind of beat himself on that one. So without that, he lost back in 2019 to a Tristan Connolly, who's, who is that, right? I mean, not to just be disrespectful, but what I'm saying is that's 5 years ago now. This guy, Michel, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wins now. And again, wins over Michael Lowe, Santiago Ponzinibbio, Andrea Fialio, Nico Price. I mean, these are guys that are legitimate dogs. And he's been going the distance. And I mean, man, 30 wins under his belt at 30 years old. I don't know what else you need to be knocking on that door for a top 15 as a top 15 contender, right? I mean, what else is the criteria? I'm trying to quickly look on the rankings here, but if he hasn't been added yet, I mean, I think he needs to be in that conversation immediately at once. Immediately. Yeah, I do declare.
So it doesn't look like he has been added to the top 15 in middleweight, but
how is that not what's next for him?
I mean, that begs the question: who do you want to see him fight in the top 15? I have 2 names on the tip of my tongue, but I'm curious to hear yours first.
I'm gonna say Chris Curtis. It's not good for Chris, but number 14. I don't know if he'll fight his fellow Brazilian in Kai the Natural, Caio Baralo, but
those are the 2 names I have.
Yeah, those are the guys.
Is my number 1, and then my 1A is Caio Baralo, and my 1B is Chris Curtis.
That I'd love to see. The first one, Caio, he's an absolute stud. He's a young up and comer in that side of the world. So maybe if there's a card overseas, maybe you do book that one and may the best man win. But I think the obvious yes is that Michel needs to be fighting somebody in the top 15 for sure. Anybody.
I mean, absolutely. And if nobody's going to say yes in the top 15, and I mean, if you look him up on Tapology's World MMA rankings, they have Kyle Barrio as number 15, Fluffy Hernandez at number 14, Action Man Curtis at number 13. Oh, by the way, guess who's number 16? Ahead of Paul Bearjew Craig on their rankings, Michel Demolidor Pereira. So
knocking on the door.
Maybe you give him Paul Craig.
Oh boy, Bear
He's
Jew.
ahead of Paul. He's ahead of Paul Craig on the Tapology rankings for middleweight.
Wow,
I feel like theirs are better rankings. It's not a popularity contest,
and that's a good matchup.
That's a great matchup. Because
Wow.
can he get past the grappling of somebody like that? And can the Bear Jew get past somebody that's fucking explosive?
I mean, that's the thing. Bear Jew might try to grab a ankle on Michel, and Michel might put his lights out, or do so prior to that. So, but you can do that to a lot of people. So,
Truly,
I don't know who's answering that phone call, but I am excited to see Michel get back in there. He's got a fan out of your boy.
Your boy Eric Anders?
Your boy.
Boy. Oh, that was probably my favorite thing that's happened recently on our shows. You were like, Bruce called him your boy. It's pretty wild.
It's like, is he like friends with them or something? Maybe they threw it off because he said your boy Eric Anders, not Eric, your boy Anders.
Your boy Eric.
I was like, your boy.
I mean,
He's
he's
your
your
boy?
boy. He's your boy. He's your boy. He's your boy. He's mine. He's all our boy. Moving into the next one. This one was a fairly interesting fight. I'm gonna let you actually take the lead on this because I'm just curious to hear how you scored it and also kind of what stood out to you, if anything, about this fight. And of course, we're talking about Iwan Cutelaba coming in against Felipe Lins.
Thank you for pronouncing that for me, brother. The Hulk versus Felipe Lins. Yeah, man. I mean, my big takeaway was Felipe's leg kicks. My goodness, he was chomping at the bit. Didn't help that they kept showing it off as well. But you were also able to see Ian was out there with a spare tire on. I mean, that guy was moving, fumbling, stumbling. That thing was mincemeat out there, brother. It was tough to watch after a while. And that was really the deciding factor for me. Outside of Felipe being active, being able to land some punches on the body, he was able to rip Ian upstairs as well. Although Ian was a bit more active, that's the style that he is. That's what we've come to expect and love and appreciate from Cutelaba. But I just think that, again, the leg kick early and often was really debilitating for him and really disabled his striking prowess. I mean, the reality is, like, you know, I guess to quickly take a step back here and try to examine, like, what are we watching? Why are they even doing what they're doing? And it's because that calf kick, that leg strike is to, like, neutralize your opponent, right? Obviously, you're trying to knock them out or do different things, which there's different strikes for that. But the only reason why you're throwing a calf kick or a leg kick like that so often is because you know you're going up against a tough opponent that might be one-dimensional. Maybe he doesn't switch stances. Maybe you know this is going to be his Achilles heel. This is how I debilitate this opponent and then do anything else I want from there. So I thought it was a really good clinical performance by our boy Felipe Lins. Was able to stay out of, for the most part, out of a lot of the power punches that Cutelaba, aka the Hulk, was throwing. But yeah, I just think from a technical perspective, he got a little outclassed there. Just did not have an answer for the leg. And it really doesn't take much, but after 1, 2, 5, 10, 15 of those, after 15 minutes, it's like, yo, you got no response. I mean, I'm just going to keep having at it. And it showed. Like, it was showing. So, fun fight. The leg kicks were the huge standout. And Felipe Lins looked like a big boy. And he's someone we might be talking about in the light heavyweight division. But curious to hear your thoughts, man. And, if you got anything queued up for what's next for him, or just maybe things that stood out just in general.
Great breakdown first and foremost, Nano. Got to give you your round of applause here. As far as what stood out to me, more of the same. The leg kicks were obviously the biggest differential in this fight, and there's something that Iwan Cutelaba was just not ready for. Right? You punch the Hulk in the face, he gets angry and he gets stronger. You kick him in the legs, he's like, "What the fuck was that? Why does this hurt? I don't know what to do with this. Why is my leg going dead?" So we saw that happening in real time, right? In the fight on Saturday. Every time Felipe would rear back and throw that leg kick, at one point, I want to say it was in round 3. You saw Iwan visibly reacting to even just feints of the leg kick coming. And that's how you know guys in bad shape. Those don't feel good. They've been adding up, kid. So we definitely saw that happening. We saw those starting to add up. And I mean, again, as a result, Felipe Lins got the win. Did he land less overall strikes? Yeah, absolutely. He landed about 40 less strikes, almost 50 less strikes. So 73 to 119 total strikes landed. And Ion Cutelaba landed 119. But if you look down at significant strikes, it was 67 to 47, right? So the 67, 20 more were from Felipe Lins. And again, a lot of those were leg strikes. It really, really adds up. And I mean, once you start landing things like that, you really just can't walk the same way. And if you can't walk, can't fight. That's a Cobra Kai line. I think Terry Silver said it as one of the best, worst villains of the fucking 80s and 90s. Man can't walk, man can't fight. Man can't see, man can't fight. Like, take their fucking limbs from them, take their abilities from them. And that's exactly what Felipe Lins went out there and did on Saturday night. It was beautiful to witness. It was beautiful to see. The man has already grown significantly at his time in the UFC, and I'm looking forward to seeing what's next for him. As far as names on the tip of my tongue, it's another one of those times where I really don't want to say a name out loud, but I have to, right? I'm just going to throw it out there. Oh, fuck. Dominic Reyes. I hate it, man. I don't think it's a good fight for Dominic Reyes, but it is Felipe Lins' time. Jesus, thanks for dropping in today, brother. It was really nice to see you in the chat. Hope to see you in other episodes. But yeah, man, jumping back in, I just think Felipe Lins is a problem for a lot of these people. He's long, he's strong, he's down to get the friction on, as Sir Mix-a-Lot likes to say. And he's able to take quite a punch. We saw it on Saturday. So I don't know how you feel about that Dominic Reyes matchup, but curious to hear, did you have a name on the tip of your tongue?
No, brother, I didn't. I was going to ask, I mean, anyone in the top 15, I think I would be okay with. I was questionable at first, but after you threw out a couple names like a Dominic Reyes, someone that we have not seen in a long time, why the heck not, right? I mean, I can be talked into it. I'm sellable. We're in sales here. I could listen to a good pitch. But yeah, I think after a performance like that, after beating someone that is a staple like an Ion Cutelaba, who potentially might have been able to take that win and have a crack at the top 15 as well, I think you do take that momentum away from your opponent there. And now you can run with it. And that's a good case. I do think it's a good feather in the cap. Man, looking at number 15 of Vitor Petrino after his performance, it's crazy to try to put a Felipe Lins ranked ahead of him. Maybe even that's a good place to stick, even though he just fought recently as well. Unless maybe that means the stars align a little bit better. Maybe they can both eye another performance in the fall or end of this year. So, yeah, I'd love that. I think Vitor, I think, who was the first one you mentioned there? Dominic Reyes. Again, just because we haven't seen him in a while, to be honest, if he hasn't retired, I mean, why not? I mean, that's probably the best case scenario for a Dominic Reyes.
Yeah, and I mean, he definitely hasn't retired. He actually had a fight scheduled, but it fell through. Gosh, who was that fight against?
Ooh, was this recent? Oh man,
it was recently. He had a fight that was scheduled, and then it ended up falling through. They don't show canceled bouts on SureDog, but they show them on Tapology. Let's.
Oh, dude! Supposedly he had a blood clot in his leg last month. He was lucky to be alive.
Oh,
he had blood clots. Yeah.
Okay, so
Dominic
maybe
Reyes
not
is
him.
supposed to fight Carlos Ulberg, officially rescheduled. Yeah.
Real ladies man, that guy. Real ladies man, that guy. For real, he is. He used to dance for like the Thunder Down Under or whatever.
Oh, he's a handsome devil. Yeah, I didn't know if there was
like I wouldn't. I have the utmost trust in my woman, but like going out on a limb to say that I would send her into those shark infested waters.
I wouldn't even trust myself. No, I get it.
Same. As a heterosexual male, I just nope, no chance.
No chance.
So yeah, I think maybe not Dominic Reyes. If that's the case, I don't know. Maybe we pivot to an Alonzo Menifield.
I like it. Ooh, I like that.
How are you mad at?
He's a beast. Anyone. There's a lot of fun matchups at light heavyweight now. Felipe is another name to add in that conversation for sure.
it's wide open right now, dude. It is literally wide the hell open. The light heavyweight division, that is. So, yeah, I say chug it on along. Let him fight in the top 15. He's definitely more than done enough, in my opinion. So why the hell not, folks? Moving into the next one, we have the opener of the preliminary card. We had Kyler Matrix Phillips coming in against Pedro Young Punisher Munoz. Gotta drop the young. He definitely didn't look young in there on Saturday. He landed less than half the clip of his opponent. It was 52 to 115 on strikes landed, 52 to 114 on significant strikes landed. So almost every single strike landed in this entire fight was considered significant. These guys were trying to take each other's heads off. There was only one takedown landed, although there were 8 attempted, all on the same side. Pedro Munoz. But my goodness, man, Kyler Phillips just negated 7 out of 8 takedowns attempted. And while doing it, made the octagon his home. I truly thought that the opposite was going to happen. I thought it was going to be a bit of a pissing contest in there, and that the old dog was going to say, hey, kid, I've already marked this territory. This is my house. But the young kid went in there and made him tuck tail, honestly. Kyler Phillips looked absolutely incredible. The jab looked brilliant in there against Pedro Munoz, firing like an absolute piston. And again, I mean, what else is there to say? Like, he went out there and dominated the fight everywhere that it went. And across the rounds, if you break it down round by round, I mean, it makes no difference. 55 to 19 in round 1 on significant strikes landed, 32 to 20 in round 2, and 27 to 13 in round 3. He outlanded him on all 3 rounds. And even when his opponent did get a takedown, he only got 24 seconds of control time. So he wasn't able to do a whole lot with it. And by the way, Kyler Phillips was also doing a really good job of divvying things up, right? He was landing to the head, to the body, to the legs. 20% of his strikes went to the legs, 64% to the head, 14% to the body. So the guy was, again, just changing it up, right? However, one thing I really noticed is when he was at distance, he controlled the fight in a significant way, right? He was constantly controlling the fight when at distance. And that's why he landed literally 97% of his strikes landed while at distance. So dude looked really, really good. There's a reason they call him Matrix. He was slipping in and out of range. And I really, really look forward to seeing his next matchup. What were your thoughts on this one, Nano?
Brother, you hit the nail on the head. But yeah, man, just to kind of reiterate or add extra context and just give our boy Kyler Phillips some roses, man. My goodness, what a performance. He put the Matrix to the real world, man. It felt like we were all in the Matrix watching. He was Neo. He was the one in there, brother. The way he was moving, everything about it, man. And the way he was able to consistently maintain that pace for 15 minutes, I was really impressed. Pedro Munoz, who, again, I was going in here, and I'm at the bar of my shot, brother, because I thought the grizzled veteran, the young but older Punisher, is still going to find a way to punish his opponent. His ability to actually be the one to inflict the leg strikes, his ability to never be knocked out, to be an absolute stud, to have a good ground game, be a strong individual in there, have good footwork. Well, you know, it was like a checkers versus chess in there, because Kyler Phillips was, I mean, moving across the board in different ways that Pedro has never even seen before. Again, it's like a checkered piece seeing a freaking queen and thinking, where the hell you're going? How you doing all this? I've never seen it before. This is craziness. This is foreign language. And that's how it felt, that's how it looked. And man, Kyler Phillips earned my respect, brother. Again, his ability, his movements, it almost reminds me of like a vintage Dominic Cruz. And I don't want to pigeonhole him there. That's someone he might end up fighting in the future, but very unique, very unorthodox, maybe a little awkward, you can say, but fun. And his strikes are purposeful. His ability to throw those leg kicks, to feint, he does a lot of the things the right way. So I'm excited to see what's next for him. He was not ranked before this fight. He is officially ranked now. I think it is, I just had it up here. Oops, excuse me. What is he, 12th? I just had this puppy up here. Yep, 12th. And Dominic Cruz, again, is ranked 11th in front of him. I don't know if you have any other names, but someone like a Dominic or maybe even a Rob Font at 9 really, really excite me. I don't know if you go much higher than that just yet, because everyone ahead there in this bantamweight division, which is full of dogs all of a sudden, man, I'm excited to see what's next for Kyler Phillips. And he's based out of Phoenix, Arizona here, so huge shout out. Hopefully I can see him around, try to chop it up, maybe get him on the pod one time. But yeah, man, I know he trains with Sugar and the boys. He's part of that MMA lab. Iron sharpens iron. And again, man, he's got good movement. He's slick with it. So I'm excited to see what's next. I'd love to see maybe a Dominic Cruz or a Rob Font, maybe another grizzled veteran that he can maybe get out of the
name out of my fucking mouth. I was just about to say Rob Font, right? I just came off of mute to say it. I was like, he's going to take it from me. I know it.
Got the hive mind. I'm sorry.
Got the hive mind for sure. Fucking hitting that Professor Xavier moment there. Yeah, man, I think Rob Font is definitely the name that I had written down here. And I had it written down for a reason, right? Like, Rob Font is very similar to the guy he just beat in Pedro Munoz in the fact that they're both grizzled old vets and they have different styles, but similar tenacity that they bring to the octagon. And I feel like if Kyler Phillips is able to get past somebody like Rob Font, it sets him up to really fight, you know, a Marlon Vera coming off of a loss or a Henry Cejudo coming off of a loss. So, I mean, color me interested in this kid. I'll be paying attention to every fight moving forward. I really like Kyler Matrix Phillips. Love the way that he moves. Again, the way that he moves in and out of range, the way that he lands at distance. And I mean, he constantly dictates the pace and just where the fight takes place. The dude is extremely smart, very high fight IQ for an extremely young and talented kid. The kid was born in fucking 1995, folks. I mean, like, he's literally a child. He's only 28 years old. So
that's crazy.
It's wild to me. The kid's fight IQ is just otherworldly for how old he is and how many fights he has. He's 12-2. That's not a lot of fights. So moving into this next one, this is one that I was extremely excited about. And I got to be honest with you, it did not go at all the way that I thought it was going to go. But before we break it down, we definitely have this shot to do. I've already got mine poured. I think you poured yours as well. Let's go ahead and do it for the old dogs.
Let's do it. And for the one, Neo the Matrix, Kyler Phillips. Everyone's the
dodging the bullets. So moving into this next one, we had Mateusz Gamrot coming in against Rafael dos Anjos, aka RDA. Man, Mateusz Gamrot is definitely a problem for a lot of people. The guy was obviously a problem for Rafael dos Anjos in there. He landed almost 3 times the amount of strikes as him, 39 to 111. When you look at significant strikes, it was only 36 to 57. So he wasn't necessarily landing with the amount of purpose that Rafael was. When Rafael was throwing, he was throwing with absolute sting. He was throwing with leather. He was throwing with venom, just like the shorts they wear. But I digress. Mateusz Gamrot, he went out there and did something that Kyler Phillips did, and the fact that he controlled and dictated where the fight took place, right? He attempted 19 takedowns. 19 takedowns, folks. That's fucking ridiculous. The cardio it takes to do something like that is just absolutely insane. If you don't believe me, go to your local MMA gym or your local wrestling gym and just drop into one wrestling class. If you've never done it before, you will probably quit. So that will kind of give you a baseline example of just how ridiculous it is to shoot for 19 takedowns. Oh, by the way, he got 11 of them. So good on him. He did control the fight. And, he racked up 7 minutes of control time to the 11 seconds of his opponent, Rafael dos Anjos. Of course, very, very even across all rounds. 2 minutes, 35 seconds of control time in round 1. 2 minutes and 40 seconds of control time in round 2, and 1 minute and 46 seconds of control time in round number 3. Again, also outlanding his opponent in all rounds except for round 2, but that is such an insignificant kind of, or actually he did outland him in all rounds. The only thing he didn't outland him in was significant strikes in round 2, and that was only by 2 strikes. So 40 to 14 in round 1, 28 to 12 in round 2, and 43 to 13 in round 3. Fairly dominant, and that's why it was considered boring by a lot of people that watched it. But I mean, I thought it was kind of exactly what we anticipated it being to an extent. A bit more grindy than I thought it was going to be. I did think Mateos was going to go out there and look more like a world breaker than he did. But curious to hear your thoughts. Do you think he gained value or lost value in this fight against RDA?
I mean, my boy Gamrot, yeah, I think he gained a lot of value. To me, although let me just start with giving Gamrot his flowers, because I want to say a couple things here. So I was going to break down the fight, and he did have some moments where I was questioning what was going to happen, or just really, I mean, the reality is when you're such a one-dimensional fighter like Gamrot or like these dominant wrestlers are, I want to see your ability to be willing to trade in the pocket. I want to see it look a little more comfortable. First off, Gamrot did earn a lot of respect. I mean, he is in the conversation at the top of the lightweight division, one of the most stacked divisions historically ever in the UFC. Trains with Dustin Poirier, like he is right there neck and neck with those guys. But even someone like a Dustin, like if they weren't training together, like I would look at Dustin's ability and his well-rounded game and say, yeah, like I think he can have an answer for the wrestling, and Dustin can put his lights out. And RDA almost put his lights out. He ran right into a knee in like that first or second round, where I don't know how Gamrot's lights didn't go out. This was just an absolute machine and ate a freaking knee that he ran right into. And that's what just got me thinking. I'm like, it's that Jorge Masvidal, Ben Askren kind of effect. Like, I'm surprised that doesn't happen more often. But Jorge knows, of all people, like fight IQ and just have the talent and ability to run up or just in the pocket. I mean, their head's going to go one to two places. So if you see it one way or the other, it's just a reaction. You don't even have to lift your knee. You just kind of open up your hip a little bit, and your knee, he's going to run into it. He's doing all the work for you. So yeah, that was scary. I think although Gamrot again looked dominant, his pace, everything is Marab level, and that was what I mentioned going into it, was just a constantly moving forward force of nature. Now, again, the only asterisk I have, and why I'm just like, man, like even looking at like a Michael Chandler and how he got now ranked ahead of him. Michael Chandler's now ranked 6th. Gamrot's ranked 5th. The striking is where I'm a little bit needing to see more. I'm needing to see more there. He was rocked. I mean, maybe he did earn my respect in the sense that, gosh darn it, he could take a knee to the chin. He's got a chin on him now. So it's going to take a little bit more than just the lucky knee to get him out of there. But some other people can do that to him, I think, man. I mean, maybe I'm missing the mark here a little bit. Maybe you can, tell me that Dustin's going to coach him up and everything's going to be fine and he's going to go on a title run. But with Dustin still around, I mean, I don't know if they'll ever sign the dotted line to fight each other, but it's like someone like that. I mean, even a Chandler or a Charles, people that have a decent ground game as well, but have that special striking ability. How does Gamrot look against one of those guys? And even let's just say even a vintage RDA. Let's just keep it simple. RDA maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I think this might have been a different fight. I think it might have been 10 takedowns to 10 takedowns, and it might have been 6-4. Maybe RDA might win that. I mean, I think it's a totally different fight, yo.
I agree. I definitely agree. But I mean, that being said, you're saying 5 fights ago, 6 fights ago, RDA fights this guy. It's a different fight, right? You take RDA 6 fights ago, and you take Mateos 6 fights from now. And Mateos probably creams him. You know why? I don't know if you're aware of this, but do you know who his number one training partner is, Mateos Gamrot?
Oh, it's a DP. I know.
It's DP. Mm-hmm. That iron sharpens iron, my guy. And what up, Tico Tech LLC? Welcome to the chat, my guy. Always love to see you here. Also, just got to say, love the display picture. That is sick. Would love for you to tell us what the symbol in the middle means in the chat. So, yeah, I mean, he trains with DP, and that means he's going to be constantly getting better every day. So Dustin's grappling is getting better, which is probably why he thought he could pull a fucking Gilly for the 87th time, even though he's never won a career fight by Gilly. Don't be silly. Jump the Gilly, folks. So, yeah, man. I mean, I feel like his grappling is just consistently going to get better, and Mateos's striking is just going to consistently improve and constantly improve as well. It is the Quran in Arabic calligraphy. That is sick. I love it. It's beautiful.
That is tight. My only pushback is that he's 33. You know, I mean, it's got to be now or never.
It's a bit late. It's got to be now or never. But that's the thing, is he's in the top 15, bro. Like,
I think he's entered that conversation, and that's where, you know, to answer your initial question of did he earn more respect, did he level up in my book? I think he is like now in that small bubble of top light heavyweights right now, which is and it's who everyone's probably thinking of: Charles, Justin, Dustin. If Max moves up, Max.
Yeah, I mean, he's number 5 now. I don't know if
he's right there.
He moved up.
He is.
He's number 5. He's now ranked ahead of Michael Chandler.
He's properly ranked number 5.
Yeah, he's properly ranked number 5. So I feel like now, as you were saying, it's time to start fighting the upper echelon. Like, give him the loser of Justin Gaethje versus Max Holloway.
Ooh. Or a Charles Armand. I mean, that's coming up as well. Maybe you give him the winner or loser of that. I mean, he needs to be fighting someone.
All right, brother. So I love and hate that. I love and hate that because they've already done that, right? New to this world. Let's go. Agree with the Gamro take from Nano. He definitely needs to stop with dropping the head down into takedowns when getting pressured. When there's someone with good anti-wrestling, that might be a problem. Okay, man, I completely agree.
Great take.
I definitely
new
think
to
that's
this
a great
world,
take.
but not new to the UFC game. I like it.
New to the world, but not new to the game, folks. We recognize you. And welcome to the chat, man. Welcome to the channel. We hope you subscribe and we hope you stick around. We do these bi-weekly. We'll be here typically Tuesdays and Thursdays or Mondays and Wednesdays, depending on how the week shakes out. But either way, you can bank on seeing us twice a week to break down the fights and break down our predictions. I definitely agree with what you said there, new to this world, in the chat. And again, thanks for that breakdown. He does lead with his head a lot, and it comes off as, you know, what it doesn't matter if you're a casual fan or a veteran fan, what all of us tend to call a desperate takedown, right? And it's not a good look. You want to set them up. I feel like Dustin actually sets his takedowns up significantly better than Gamrot does, right? He'll end up hitting the 1-2 and then coming under, right? He doesn't lead with his head unless it's time to lead with your head.
It's that boxing footwork he has too. That's why his feet follow his head. Where Gamrot, there's still a little bit of that disconnect when it comes to the striking game.
Gamrot definitely stands a little bit flat-footed. He's a bit barbaric in his striking and rudimentary. And I don't mean rudimentary in a way that we compliment, like not a complimentary rudimentary where it's like meat and potato style striker. He's just, you know, he's got the potatoes. He's still working on getting the meat part. So it'll get there. It's just not quite there yet. And I do think that once he gets the striking and the footwork kind of tailored to the way that he sets up his grappling, he'll be an animal in there, man. I think he's going to be a real problem. But again, you feed him to the wolves early, like we're talking about. You give him a loser of Justin Gaethje versus Max Holloway for the BMF belt. I don't know how that goes for him. I don't think it goes well, though.
I mean, I have all the confidence in those guys. I mean, they're built a little different. So with the Gamrot, although I love what I'm seeing, I have my hesitations. But, you know, we're talking about our opinions, and, you know, we're obviously fans and we enjoy the game, although we dissect it and we're in it. We're in the weeds. And, you know, there's a lot of UFC guys on YouTube. You can go listen to the professionals. You can listen to whoever you want to listen to and take their opinions with a grain of salt. But I will say there was someone that commented that we probably should take it with more than a few extra grains of salt. We need to take this with a boulder. And it was Khabib Nurmagomedov that said, even at this point, Gamrot might be the toughest challenge for an Islam. So if Khabib's saying that, I mean, who am I to make an argument against it? That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm saying, y'all.
So I'm going to pull this comment up one more time, and I'm going to read it to the viewers and listeners one more time. So new to this world, who is also new to this channel, said, agree with Gamro take from Nano. He definitely needs to stop with dropping the head down into takedowns when getting pressured. When there's someone with good anti-wrestling, that might be a problem. Now, that will be a problem, especially if he fights somebody that's a really good grappler with anti-wrestling. So somebody like a Dustin Poirier would probably murder him right now. Somebody like Islam Makhachev would probably murder him right now. But I think what Khabib means by him being a problem right now is this: his scrambles. Once there is a grappling exchange, his scrambles are just next level. They're unworldly. And again, like we can bring Mad Max on the next episode if we want to kind of help us go over this, because he's more of a grappler than either of us. I'm definitely more of a striker, Muay Thai guy here through and through. But I know my way around, right? Like, even though I'm a little wet behind the ears, I still know my way around the grappling sector. And I will say that once it becomes a scramble, once it becomes a grappling exchange, Gamrot's tough. The way that he's able to scramble in these abilities and reverse positions, like, though his desperate takedown attempts or desperate takedown entries might leave a little bit to be desired, his scrambles and his ability to sweep and switch position from a lackluster position to a dominant one is truly something to behold. So I think Khabib is onto something. And I think another reason that he's saying that he's the biggest threat to Islam is because he'd like to see him get fast-tracked to a championship bout. Because if he fights him this year or next year, he doesn't have to fight him again for a very long time. And next year, the year after, that's when Gamrot is going to be a real threat to Islam, once he sharpens these problems.
Yeah, man. No, he's definitely right there. And yeah, to your point, and again, the Mad Max can probably speak more to it, but I do remember DC mentioning during the commentary was Gamrot's willingness to essentially go with what you give him, almost in like a jujitsu way. Like, if you're going to fall into a trap, I'm going to take you there, but I'm going to do it and get the upper hand. You mentioned the trips. You mentioned the trips or the kind of, I'm trying to think, the repositioning, or essentially the trips is one that stood out to me, like wrapping one leg around, RDA's back leg, taking them down.
Outside single leg trip. Yeah.
Some of those trips were really impressive. And then
the cage work is really nice.
Really nice. And that's what DC was mentioning. It was like he was, anything that RDA was trying to get to or work, Gamrot would go with him there. Like, okay, I'm not resisting, right? I'm not going to use force against force. I'm going to go with you here, but I'm so well-rounded. I'm so, I'm two chess moves ahead of you here, to use, I keep using that reference, but that's what it is. That's what it boils down to. It's like, hey, I know you're trying to get here, so I'm going to go take you here because you're going to need to do this to get there. But hey, I'm already getting there. That's probably a bad way to explain it, but it makes sense if you know.
No. I understand the connective tissue that you're trying to build here. And I mean, like, even before I really got into mixed martial arts and like long before I ever started training, one of the first comic book characters that I really, really fell in love with and looked up to was Captain America, obviously. And Captain America is trained in two specific styles of martial arts that he paired together to become a very efficient fighting machine. Those are judo and boxing. And something that he would always preach throughout the comics and, the narrations and things is that judo is all about being able to utilize your opponent's own body weight and own momentum and own planning against them, right? Your chess, you're staying a couple steps ahead. And then obviously the boxing, you got the fucking power and, you're on the feet, you're ready to go. So he had the footwork, he had the boxing, he had the judo. And because of that, he'd fight much bigger, much stronger guys. And sometimes they'd pressure into him, they'd wade into him, and he would turn them out and turn them against their will based on their momentum. Like he'd get low like a football player and hit that low side tackle when the Hulk was coming towards him. Whenever the Hulk would lose control and they'd have to battle. I mean, a dude with no superpowers has beat the Hulk 3 times, to my knowledge, in fucking Marvel Comics. There's a reason for that. That reason is fight IQ, right? So that's another episode for another day for us to break down that fight. But taking a page out of Captain America's book, Mateusz Gamrot, he really is good at changing the momentum of his opponents and using their force and kind of their momentum against them. So really, really looking forward to seeing his next matchup. And again, I truly think that it's time for him to fight someone in the top 5 at this point. If Conor McGregor bails, maybe give him Michael Chandler. I'm not mad at that.
I like that a lot. He's technically 6 now. He bumped him, but I do think that's a good matchup stylistically. And Michael's another one of those guys where, again, he's a wrestler as well. So how would that look against another athlete like a freaking Chandler, man? That'd be a fun one.
No, absolutely. And I mean, I obviously, like, if I'm Mateusz, I'm tweeting like, hey, Chandler, I took your spot. I'm being very, very petty about it,
Don't wait for Conor. You fight me.
Yeah, don't wait for Conor. I'm ready. If Armand, new to this world, says in the chat, if Armand loses to Charles at 300, what about a rematch with Gamrot? My guy. I literally, when people are like, why do you think Gamrot is so good? I'm like, go watch the Armand fight. go watch the Arman Tsarukyan fight. That's why I think both guys are that good, because of that fight against each other. Yes, sign me the hell up. I'm there for it. New to this world, loving your input for this episode, and keep it coming.
Coming in hot.
I'm all about that. Coming in hot for the first episode here, folks. Moving into the next one, we had not Caitlin Chukagian, but Caitlin Sarmanara coming in against Macy, the future Barber. Nano. What were your thoughts on this fight, man? Did anything stand out to you about Macy Barber?
I mean, I felt like I already thought the future has arrived, but I think it really just reacclimated that statement. You know, I think early on, and I say early on, mostly the first half of that first round, I was a little worried. Felt like the reach and Caitlin's size and everything was going to be a little bit of a problem, but Macy was able to get that dialed in, stay focused, stay in the pocket, get to her marks, use her well-rounded game with the takedowns, with the striking. Excuse me. And I do just felt like she was the obvious choice here to win. I mean, with all things considered, she's ready to go. The future has arrived. You know, I think there's not a lot of prizes there anymore for me. Not many more boxes I think she needs to check off in this division. I mean, you beat a Caitlin Sermonara, who is a perennial stud. She's a gatekeeper. I hate to put it that way, but when, you know, someone that is always been at the top for a long time. Somebody's been at the top for a long time, but is not the champion, right? I mean, I don't know what else you want to call those people, but let's just call her the right opponent for Macy to beat here in the flyweight division, but to make that next step. And hopefully, I mean, maybe you're one fight away. I'd be curious to hear what you think's next for a Macy Barber, but not a lot of people in front of you when you're ranked 4th, right? There's only so much more you can do. Alexa Grasso and Valentina Shevchenko are officially the new coaches on the Ultimate Fighter season coming up, so we're going to have to safely assume that they will be fighting for that trilogy. But is it Aaron Blanchfield who is fighting a Manon Fiore? Do you fight the loser? Do you fight the winner?
You fight the winner.
You fight the winner.
You fight the fucking winner, my guy. You fight the winner because they just announced on Saturday that we are getting the Ultimate Fighter. The next season is going to be Valentina Shevchenko coaching against Alexa Grasso. So those guys are going to be tied up for the next 6 to 8 weeks in filming. And then after that, they're going to have a fight.
Fight another few months after that, yeah.
They're literally going to fight in about 6 months. They're going to be, like, realistically, they're
tied up this year.
They're tied up this year. They're not fighting again this year. So Aaron Blanchfield versus Manon Fiore is happening for the interim belt, in my opinion. It's happening not for the interim, I mean, for the people's interim belt. Right?
Yes,
but it's arguably it's supposed to be a title contender, but somebody stepped up and made this fucking call to have Tough happen. So now it's not even a title contender unless one of these women really wants to wait and sit on the shelf, which if you're going against Alexa Grasso, if you're going against Valentina Shevchenko, you don't want to sit on the shelf for fucking 8, 9, 10 months while you're waiting and get that ring rust built up while they're staying active against somebody else. I think whoever wins this fight, Aaron Blanchfield versus Manon Fiore, is going to win fairly dominantly. As much as I don't know who's going to win just yet, and we're going to be breaking this thing down just in about 2 weeks, folks, at the end of the month. So Aaron Blanchfield versus Manon Fiore, I think the winner of this is going to match up very, very well to go against our girl, Macy the Future Barber. So if that's the case, I think Macy Barber versus the winner of Aaron Blanchfield versus Manon Fiore then gets a title shot against the winner of the new Tough season.
Ooh.
There's no denying it.
Ooh. I like it. No, it makes sense. It makes sense. It's all timing. Stars are aligning. There's only a few. I mean, again, we just got done talking about the fighters at the top of the division, and that's Macy. You know, again, the future has arrived. Not a lot of people in front of you, so maybe you don't rush it. You stay patient. And that's kind of the thing here too, right? You know, like we might have seen with a Joanne Wood in her day, or, you know, with a Uriah Faber in your camp, with a Cody Garbrandt, ex-champions. I'm hoping they're telling her, hey, let's play this smart. Let's play the long game. You've done everything you need to do. Wait for the puzzle pieces to fall in line, and then we'll be ready when our number's called.
So New to This World just popped in the chat again, basically echoing our sentiments here. Macy landing 56% of her significant shots and 100%. 100% takedowns. I want her and the winner of Blanchfield I want her and the winner of Blanchfield and Fiore Blanchfield can negate the wrestling with her BJJ, and Fior has the striking to match Barber. Either fight would be nice. Can I tell you something? Let me tell you something. If I really had the choice, I would take Fior versus Macy Barber. I think that would just be a more fun fight because we'd get a real striker's delight, and people love that, myself included, being the Muay Thai guy. But I do agree. I think the wrestling negation and just the takedown threat of Blanchfield would be really, really strong and really, really hard. And I mean, it would be a tough test for Macy. I think if Macy's able to get past either of these women, she truly could be championship caliber. She truly could be the future, pun intended. So I am looking forward to her next match. I did think that she looked absolutely incredible out there. She looked like greased lightning, folks. The jab, the 1-2, she was landing punches in bunches. She was landing combos. Nothing was singular, as we like to say. And, we love to see it. 4 for 4 on takedowns, as New to This World mentioned in the chat. Look, I love 100% takedown accuracy. But you know what I love more than that, Nano? Do you know what I love more than that? 100% takedown accuracy and negating your opponent to a 16.7% takedown accuracy. Somebody like Caitlin Chukagian, somebody who is now known as Caitlin Sermonera, who is an absolute beast in control and control time in general in these fights, she just didn't have an answer for Macy Barber. She was unable to get her down, and even when she was able to get her down, let me tell you something. She didn't really control her for that long, right? She got her down in the first round, and she did control her for 1 minute and 50 seconds. But then in round 2, Macy Barber got 1 minute and 52 seconds of control. Oh, and then in round 3, Macy Barber got 1 minute and 14 seconds of control. When Macy wanted to take her down, she took her down. Oh, and by the way, 0 takedowns in round number 1. 0 takedowns in round number 1 for Macy Barber, but 1 minute and 39 of control time. Fucking impressive. Her cage control, her clinch control, beautiful. Just like New to This World said in the chat. The way that she was able to control the pace of the fight and also dictate where her opponent had to be positioned. She did not give somebody like Caitlin Sermonera, who is a very long fighter, and I told you this in our breakdown last week. Caitlin is very good at using her distance, but I also said, I think in my mind of minds, in my heart of hearts, that Macy, the future Barber, will be able to just shuffle in there and shut down that range advantage. And she was. She also pushed her and seemingly bullied her. I mean, she was fighting out like a fucking Gray Maynard out there, the way that she was pushing the control. You love to see it. I did. And I can't wait to see what's next for her. I truly think the next fight should be a title contender fight between her and the winner of what was originally supposed to be a title contender fight. So moving into the main event of the preliminary card, we had Curtis Razor Blades coming against Jailton Almeida. This one did not go how I expected, folks. I will go ahead and pour up my shot while Nano breaks it down.
As will I after I break it down, because my goodness, this was wow. Not what I expected either. I talked with one of my buddies, Paul, about this for a long time, extensively, as he was deep in the betting game, trying to get things dialed in. And I told him, man, Curtis Blades is someone that always ruins my parlays. He is someone that I respect, I appreciate as a heavyweight, but he's not someone that I'm always necessarily rooting for. I don't know what it is about him, or I just never think he's going to win, and then he ends up winning. So I've learned to know my tendencies and take the extra context clues here and just realize that Curtis Blades is someone that is just always here at the top, that I'm trying to think might be like I was going to say Colby Covington, or someone that's just constantly at the top, but never, going to be the one. Always 2, 3. He's, the shake to the bake there. He's never going to be the one that's winning all the fights, but he's up there. He's respectable. He's someone that, I don't even know how else to put it. That's where I'll leave it is, man, he continues to steal the show. I thought that Jailton Almeida honestly looked good, at least until he didn't. I thought he was going to get to his marks, thought he was able to take him down, be the bigger, stronger guy. But no, Curtis said, no, I'm actually a little bit bigger than you. I'm a little bit stronger than you, and I'm a little bit more mean than you. And that's really where it boiled down. I don't know if Jailton just... And I texted you almost immediately after. I'm like, but why did Gelatin just stick on that leg? What happened? And I think a part of it is, I don't know, maybe it's kind of like going through a maze and you get stuck on a one way and there's just not a lot of ways out, where with that kind of position, I mean, you're so committed to trying to grab the leg. It's like once you felt maybe a couple haymakers, I really don't know what he could have done outside of just trying to maybe explode out of there or just letting go and something. But instead, I mean, Curtis Blades just dropped what felt like 100 freaking elbows right on his temple. Realistically, maybe like 20 of them, but either way, enough to get Gelatin to not just let go of the leg, but go limp and then just turn over and not want to do anything anymore, and had to ask for the referee to stop it because he just couldn't handle any more of those temple shots. But it shocked me. I mean, it was a weird one. It almost felt like an Aspinall injury, right? And I think that's where maybe for me it's like Blades beats all these guys, but he does it in weird ways. Like, this is obviously a win, but it just feels like if this sort of happened 9 out of 10 times, this might have been that. Or excuse me, if this happened 10 times, this might have been the 1 out of 10. I don't know, but he's a great fighter. I'm obviously being a hater right now, and I obviously had some money on Gelatin, so definitely a little biased. But all things considered, Curtis Blades is legit. He's someone that deserves to be here, and man, Gelatin, I hope to see him back in there soon. But man, stinks. What are your thoughts, brother?
Definitely stinks when we got money on them and they lose, and it stinks even more when we're a fan of them and they lose. I didn't realize you had a bet on Gelatin, man.
He was part of a long legger, so that broke. It ended up breaking later on too, but I mean, it was betting for him. I think I had him in my my DraftKings as well, so it was, and that didn't go well either. So it happens.
The only bets that I happened to lose this weekend were on Francis Ngannou. Luckily, I got that out of the way pretty early on, and then I made it all back in spades. And we have actually officially, both of us, become profitable on the year. So you love to see that. You love to see that. Take it to the bank, hit all the video game sounds and all that good stuff. And with that being said, we'll go ahead and do our little shame shot here for Gelatin Almeida. Cheers. Man.
Curtis freaking Blades, man, continues to find ways, and I mean, he's cemented himself. Obviously, he's ranked 5th, and when you look ahead of him, there's not a lot of names. I mean, man, honestly, I mean, maybe a run it back with Tommy Aspinall, interim champ. He has a win over you, kind of a similar Cheeto and Sugar situation here. So that's probably the move,
do, man. Geez Louise, man. It was 9-19, which is my lucky number upside down, obviously. 616-919. You hate to see it. Man, just like my lucky number being upside down, this fight was turned upside down compared to what I thought was going to happen. Now, here's the crazy thing. Gelatin Almeida landed 9 takedowns. 9 takedowns. And yet he only landed 9 strikes. He landed as many strikes as he landed takedowns. I agree with Tico Tech LLC in the chat here. Blades deserved a title shot years ago, then fell off a bit, but our boy's back in the conversation. Couldn't have said it better myself, my guy. I think he is definitely back in the conversation. I'm happy to see him back here. And again, 19 strikes out of 28 thrown landed. 16 of 25 significant strikes landing at over a 64% clip on all fronts. Didn't shoot a single fucking takedown, but boy, when his boy did shoot that last takedown, he said, you know what, son? I'm tired of this shit. I think I'm going to take a note out of the school of Derek Lewis here and decide that I'm done with this takedown wrestling game and just fuck your shit up. And so he did. He threw about 379 downward elbows from my count, all in a matter of about 10 seconds. And Almeida went limp, and then he ate a couple of follow-ups for good measure. Good on the man for throwing until the ref pulled him off. And I mean, good Lord. You love to see it. Now, what is next for Blades? Again, it's got to be the rematch. It's got to be the rematch, right? Tommy Tommy Aspinall. No, 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 no. Got to be with Tommy Aspinall. I think that fight was off to a banger of a start, and maybe Razor Blades would have went out there and done the same. So let's do it, man. Let's do it. Tico Tech LLC in the chat says Tyrone Woodley's #1 single, I'll Beat Your Ass, was playing in his head. That's why he won. Bro, I'm not going to lie with you, Tico Tech. You posting things in the chat like that has me falling in and out of love with you.
I was trying to think of the other one. I was just Googling it, I swear. Falling in and out of love with you. Let's go.
Tyron Woodley's boxing career has me falling in and out of love with boxing.
I mean, we know what that mouth do too. This brother is all over the place. He's been. Sorry.
And we just got demonetized. This is not that kind of podcast.
Hey man, I'm just saying all the rapping. Tico Tech, you brought it up, brother. You opened up the can of worms. Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh man.
Pandora doesn't go back in the box; only comes out.
Can of worms, can of something else with high protein. We ain't gonna get into it. Hey. You know what I'm saying? Oh, it's Bad News Bears up in this bitch. Moving into the next one, we have, you know what time it is, folks. It's time for the main card. It is time. It's time for Piotr Jan versus Song Yadong. Not my dong, Yadong. And boy, oh boy, was I wrong on this one as well. I couldn't have been more wrong about Yadong. Folks, sucks to see, but you know, it happened. It was a close matchup, though, right? I think we can agree that it was a lot closer than the commentary was making it seem. I feel like the commentary were all over Peter Yan there for a second, and just, I don't know, felt a little bit biased. But I thought the Kung Fu Kid, Mr. Song Yadong, did pretty damn well. Curious to hear your breakdown in this one, Nano. What stood out to you, if anything, from Piotr Jan's improvements and from the win?
Yeah, brother. It was a fun fight. I was also wrong about Song Yadong. I thought it was his time, but his time is not here yet. And I did remember feeling as if I went back and forth, right? This was the first fight where I was like, yo, I'm so torn on it. Obviously, even the last fight as well, Curtis Blades out to Nomade. I'm like, I can go back and forth. You could talk me in one way or the other. If I can, if we continue to stay green, I'm like, maybe I'll start to hedge some of these bets as well. I ended up hitting on one of my hedgers this last weekend. So it's like, this was one of them where I felt like might need to hedge it a little bit. And I did, because I hedged with Peter Yan. Because I was so on the fence with Song Yadong, I did like my one long leg parlay with just some of my personal favorites for like a couple bucks or whatever. Broke it, and again, it's one of those things where, one, it's funny you mentioned the commentary. Didn't have any of that. I was able to just watch Peter Yan versus Song Yadong as if it were a read along. Muted, booted, so didn't hear any of the commentary at this point, which I honestly kind of appreciate a little bit more. I was able to just watch the fight in its purity. But man, I mean, I thought Song Yadong was doing mostly enough to win, but then honestly, like halfway or maybe like as that second round really started to roll through, and then the third round, it just felt like Peter was really starting to get home. I think just some of Song's reactions to Peter's punches, I think him getting a little bit more sloppy, kind of slowing down a little bit as well in terms of the pace. And then it just really felt like, oh no, I think Peter's winning. Like I'm rooting for a Song and I'm trying to hype it up, and I'm like what I'm seeing. It was what I expected to see from both fighters. Both dudes are really slick on their feet. Song looked extremely athletic, but it came down to boxing in the pocket. It came down to when it was muddy. Came down to when they were tired, and Yan was able to dig deep. But we did kind of see a little bit of that vintage Yan, right? Again, Yan did not fade. Yan did not lose focus. He won. Like, it was like he did enough to win, and it was obvious, So I was excited to see that. It was a good resurrection from our boy Peter Yan. Good little vintage-esque Piotr, I should say. But Song Yadong, I think, just a couple pieces away. It's like he's still right there, man. He has all the tools, all the athleticism, all the moxie. And he's fought everybody, and he's looked competitive with everyone. And even Piotr. I mean, I don't know if it was a split decision. I want to quickly double check, but in my opinion, it probably should have been. It was that close.
It was very, very close.
It was unanimous, but
I still thought there should have been unanimous. Just got to say a quick shout out. What up, Cody, in the chat, my guy from back in the Olive Garden days. You know what Olive Garden and this podcast have in common when you're here? Your family. So welcome to the show, my guy. Glad to see you in the chat.
Thanks for tuning in, brother. Let's go.
Dude, I mean, I agree with you. It was a very close fight, but it was one of those things where like round 1 was close, but Peter Yan won. Round 2 was close, but Peter Yan won. Round 3 was pretty close. Maybe Song won, but Peter Yan won. So I mean, if you look at the stats by round, even it tells the tale, right? Total strikes, you got 23-22 in round 1, 61-40 in round 2, 45-42 in round 3, all in favor of Piotr Yan. Control time, the only thing that actually favored Song Yadong was round 1, and that was 49 seconds to 0. And it was such a close strike differential, 2 strike differential in significant strikes, 1 strike differential when it comes to total strikes, and 1 of 2 takedowns landed versus 0 of 1, and 49 seconds of control time. I think you could give Song Yadong round 1, but other than that, you'd be hard pressed to give that kid a round. And this is, I wanted Song to win. I had him on my fucking DraftKings. Still did good. Made more than I entered. So, cha-ching, you know what I'm saying? So I digress. We're happy with it, and we'll take the win, but it's a tough one. It was a tough night for Song Yadong. Peter Yan just looked really crisp out there. The Muay Thai style absolutely shined through and through. And you know I'm a big Muay Thai fan. Love to see it. I just was rooting for the wrong guy, apparently. So what is next for Piotr Yan? That's the big question on the tip of my tongue. And Nano, do you have a name on the tip of yours?
Yeah, I mean, and we're probably we're gonna talk about our boy later, but it's got to be maybe someone like a Chito Marlon Vera. That feels like an appropriate name. You know, both. I mean, he's coming off a loss. Obviously, Piotr's coming off a win. But when you look at the landscape and how things are kind of shaping out right now, if you're Piotr, I mean, do you really want to fight that much lower? Right? I mean, and who else really makes sense? I mean, but a Marlon, I mean, he's there. He's a stud. He's still in the conversation. And I think if you can get through someone like a Marlon Chito Vera, then you definitely earn that right to potentially avenge a loss to a Corey Sandhagen, or, you know, who knows what's going to happen with the Merab, but maybe try to avenge that 45-50 loss they had there as well. Again, I mean, those are tough. Those are tough ass.
Oh man, 45-50. You had to remind us.
I mean, these are just the facts. These are just the factuals. And actually, I mean, Yan did beat Corey. I don't know if he'd want to go up there and beat him again, but it's
we got a big chat on the screen here real quick. New to this world said Song looked about as good as in defeat as you can versus Yan. The only fight I can see at this time would be a Corey rematch. Yan is coming off a 3-fight skid and Corey on a 3-fight streak post Yan. I wouldn't punish Song by dropping him too low with a matchup, but I would give him a mare. Oh, fuck off. He said I wouldn't punish him, but give him a mare.
Oh, Lord.
That's
as close to the death sentence as you can get now. Honestly, Umair's been talking a lot with Corey. I feel like, I don't know if that's the match they want to make. It feels like Corey's been kind of asking for that one. So that's the only reason why maybe I didn't mention Umar. But yeah, I like it. I mean, the reality is so many fun freaking matchups you could do in this bantamweight division now. I mean, Corey's right there. Obviously, it looks like Suga's going to fight Merab. So what's going to happen after that? But Song's in the conversation. I mean, we got Figgy fighting Cody Garbrandt coming up. Kyler Phillips is right there. I mean, if we want to talk about giving a young up-and-comer a shot, I mean, he's somebody that's worth throwing in the conversation for sure. But yeah, man, it's I think the reality is I wouldn't be mad at it. I think Umar definitely needs to get in there quick. All of these guys are looking to get maybe that potential number one contender spot. But I love a Corey Sandhagen. Like, it's hard for me not to put him as a potential fight option, even for Suga. Like if it's not Merab, like Corey should be in the conversation, right? Like it's like he's that good. It's tough though, man.
I mean, New to This World is spitting straight up fire, dude. Like 135 is the best it's been since its inception. I completely agree. Again, that being said, Peter Yan, I do think that he shouldn't be punished. I also don't think that his opponent should be punished, Song Yadong. But Umair wouldn't be a bad fight for Song Yadong, and it would be a great test for both men, Song Yadong and Umair Nurmagomedov. Now, when it comes to Peter Yan, there's a couple of different places we can go with this, right? I think Corey Sandhagen is the shoe in here. Give him that rematch with Corey. We need to see that happen. If Corey's not willing to take it, I think Aljo goes up. And if he loses at 145, he drops back down to 135 and they rematch him with Peter Yan for the third time. We get the best 2 out of 3. They're 1-1 right now. Let's see it happen.
I like it. Book it.
Book it. Shut up and take my money. Speaking of shut up and take my money, my goodness, Gilbert Burns coming in against old Jackie 3 Names.
What a fight.
Jeez. My guy. My guy.
Wow.
Dude, what a great fight. Jackie 3 Names was in trouble. He was getting out wrestled, right? 7-11 was the takedowns. 7 landed, 11 attempted by Gilbert Darino, aka Doreen Fro Burns. And dude looks stout. But even though he looked like he was very much up across the first 2 rounds, if you go back and you look at the actual fight here, folks, you look at it per round. Significant strikes by round. Round 1, 18-18. Tie game. Round 2, Gilbert Burns, minute 39 seconds of control time. That's a fucking long time in a 5-minute round. Am I right? 9-21 on significant strikes landed that round. Who do you think outlanded who? With Gilbert Burns having almost 2 minutes of control time.
I mean,
I'm going to cut you off there. It was fucking Jackie 3 Names.
Uh-oh. That's your boy.
That's my boy. Okay, you're my boy Blue, and he's my boy too. Jackie 3 Names landed 21 of 48 significant strikes in round 2 to 9 of 20 to Gilbert Burns. Come on. He also outlanded him in total strikes, 27-11. By the way, in round 1, he outlanded him 23-20. In round 3, let's talk about significant. Let's talk about total strikes in round 3, huh? Let's talk about total strikes. 35 total strikes landed in round 3 for Jackie 3 Names. Do you want to take a guess at how many strikes Gilbert Burns landed in that final round? Just take a shot in the dark.
Say it may not have been any, maybe like 3.
You were right the first time. It may not have been any. He landed 0 total strikes in round 3.
Good.
0 significant strikes too, just in case you're bad at math.
So things really fell off, man. All the wheels fell off this school bus. It was rough.
All of the wheels fell off the fucking school bus here, kids. And what's craziest about this whole entire debacle, 2 minutes and 13 seconds of control time in that same round, 0 strikes. 2 minutes of control time, not 1 strike landed. I'm on top of you. I am controlling you. I can't even do this. Brother, come on. That's why Gilbert Burns lost this fight. He was not active enough when he was in controlling positions. He has taken a step back from the aggression that we used to see in him, and it's shown. It's not the best look for him. It is something that he needs to go back to the drawing board and rework. And I'm going to say something that I say probably at least once a month here. Maybe leave Henry Hooft. I think that he could probably get a much better coaching system out of just about anywhere else. Like, go to American Top Team. Go to American Kickboxing Academy. Go to Greg Jackson Gym even. I haven't heard anything good about them in 3 years. They're probably still going to give you more looks. So, I mean, call me a hater until I'm blue in the face, but that's fine. I just want to see this kid do good because he's still got tread on the tires. does Gilbert Durinho Burns. I think he's not at the beginning of his MMA career by any means. He's older than me, but at the same time, he's not an old man in this sport quite yet. He's still got about 2 years left if he wants to go until there's no tread left on those tires. Oh, but what is next for Jackie Three Names? That's the big question. But before we jump into that, Nano, any standouts from this fight? What really stood out to you and what let you down?
Man, I think JDM's durability.
Hold on. This might be the best joke we've ever had in the comments section. New to this world said, on top for 2 minutes with no action. Sounds like me in college.
Shit. Touche.
How's it going?
You and me both, brother. Not into the joke game either. I appreciate it, man. Yeah, but yeah, hey, JDM impressed me. He earned my respect. He beat a legend. He had a badass call out of Shavkat Rakhmonov after that. He's doing all the right things, man. He was able to dig deep enough to beat someone like that and to have that kind of power at that late in the fight, to be able to put out a Gilbert Burns the way he did. Phenomenal. And on top of all that, brother, I don't know if you knew this, but apparently Jack Della Maddalena broke his arm in the first or second round at some point. Was doing all that with a broken freaking arm.
I literally had the picture pulled up.
Yeah, P.S. Gilbert hits really hard or like kicks really hard or something like that is his 2 cents around that. But yeah, man, JDM's that guy. I think I was unsure if he was gonna be able to answer the test, but as MMAnomaly here is displaying on the screen for all of you visual listeners, wow. To have one of your arm bones completely snapped. It is not a hairline fracture. It is snapped. And to finish that fight and to still get a finish in the third, excuse me there. My goodness. Yeah, Jack Della Maddalena, arm snack clean early in the fight, rallied for a finish in the third. Wow. Beast. Yeah, here, my respect. I think he should get whatever the UFC wants. I don't know how they're looking at the landscape right now, but it's fun. You can do a lot of fun things right now. In terms of what's next, and it sucks for Gilbert, man. Jack Della Maddalena now ranked 5th. He shot up 6 spots. Gilbert now ranked 6th. Honestly, Shavkat sounds so freaking fun. That sounds so appetizing to me. I'd love to see that one. I think he booked that. Granted, I don't know how long Shavkat's going to want to wait. Obviously, Jack has a broken arm. How long does a broken arm need to heal? How long would you feel comfortable to get back into camp and to, actually be ready to step in the octagon? That is probably the biggest asterisk here. But do you have another name on the top of your mind, brother? Uh-oh.
For good old Jackie Three Names, there's a number of ways that we can go here, obviously, right? It's tough, right? He does have some time off because of the arm break. He's going to need some time to heal, but he's also sitting at number 5 now. I think maybe, just maybe, if they're going to keep blue balling Bilal Muhammad, you give him Bilal Muhammad.
Bilal. Is there
also,
any news?
LLC in the chat here. Shavkat sounds fun. That sounds so appetizing. Nano had a Sanko moment. Sheesh.
I did. I felt it there. You got me. Guilty as charged.
He's learning Shavkat's language so that way he can talk to him.
I'm a fan. Can I say?
Let's see what he said here. New to this world said, call me whatever you want by wanting this. I want to see JDM and Ian Gary. Ian Machado. I understand that it's 2 prospects, but JDM versus Ian would be a strikers match. New to this world, I think we just became best friends. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, my guy, because or girl, whatever you are, doesn't matter. We're friends now. I think JDM crushes Ian Machado Gary, and I want to see that. I'd pay a lot of money to see that. I'd pay more than the normal $80 pay-per-view mark to see that. I'll tell you that.
Okay, you pay premium.
Take
I like
my
it.
fucking money.
I like it.
Take my money.
I would love to see that as well. I don't know if they're going to want to put two of their biggest up and coming stars up against each other, but then again, it's where you're at. I mean, you're talking about the 5th and 7th ranked fighters. That's just what's going to happen. At this point, there's no avoiding all the savages at this range. That's craziness. I love it though. That's so exciting, man. What a ascension for our boy Jello Maddalena, aka Jackie
Jello
3 names.
Maddalena. Jackie 3 names.
Hey Maddalena.
Hey Maddalena. Hey.
Hey?
Yeah, I love it, bro. I think Maddalena is one of those guys that is potentially the future. Speaking of people that are potentially the future, guys, girls, everybody else in between. What the fuck even happened here? Kevin Holland was supposed to come out there and smash MVP. MVP smashes Canes. I can't tell you how many times a drunken Drew looked at me during that fight. I'm going to pour my shot up too. Looked at me during that fight and said, Drew literally said this line like probably 5 times during that fight. He looks over, he's all, he's fast. He makes fast people look not fast.
He didn't hit the longest yard, did he?
He hit the longest yard like 3 times. 3 to 5 times. Man, he's fast. He makes other fast people look not fast.
Look not fast.
They look not fast.
Classic.
I mean, it's the best show. Like, honestly, it's the first time I've ever been impressed by KSI style fighting in my life. The bounce, 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 bounce. Bounce, 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 bounce.
Where am I going? About here? Where am I going? But boy, was it effective, my brother.
My goodness, it was so effective. It was so effective. I mean, New to This World says, I was preaching all week that Kevin was going to come in with the Black Air Force energy, but he came in with the Skechers Comfort Fit energy.
Damn, that's so true. So real.
Oh my gosh. I mean,
that's hilarious.
Do you want to guest spot one week on the podcast? Let me know. Sheesh, that couldn't be more better.
Did you get a chance to watch any of the post-fight interviews or anything like Hawani or any of the boys? Did you watch Michael Venom Page's?
I didn't get to finish the Michael Venom Page interview, but I did see that there were some other things that he wanted to do creatively that they didn't allow him to do in the UFC. Kind of a bummer because I'll be honest.
It was a bit much though. He did mention it was a bit much.
It was bit much. The Undertaker come out was fucking sick.
No, that was cool. But did you hear what he wanted to do?
He wanted to do like the dark lights and appear in the octagon and shit.
Yeah, but he wanted his brother to be in the octagon and then like him out.
Oh, I mean, that is a bit too much.
Like
I didn't hear all of that.
So yeah, he wanted it to be kind of like a bait and switch. Like his brother would be mimicking him in the octagon, and then it would switch back, and he's actually at the switch, or the light would go to the tunnel. It's not there. Then it would go to the center. Then it's like the brother's there, and then it goes back in the tunnel, and he's actually there. And it was like,
that would have been cool though.
Cool coordination, but he's like, yeah, like I was telling the UFC. Like I was telling Dana, like, yeah, like I'm willing to like go and coordinate the day before, all this stuff. And I think Dana is probably just like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that shit. Like, no, we're not. One, you could come out, I guess, with your lights and whatever. We'll honor your music, quote unquote. But to add some of those antics, it was pretty funny hearing him explain it. Like, I'm like, that is cool. Like, and Hawani's like, oh, that's hilarious. That'd, be fun from a WWE and from an entertainment perspective. But logistically, you're kind of like, okay, now we don't need to see this whole delay or this bait and switch. But I mean, that would have been pretty cool, I guess. I mean, he was gonna use his twin brother. I was like, that's pretty funny. He's like, yeah. He's like, I
think it would have been cool. I think it would have been a pretty cool look. But no, we got instead we got a bit of a
brutality
via MVP over Kevin Holland. I didn't like it at all. One of the things that I really want to note though is, we should take our shot. So let's go ahead and do that. You have your sport up?
Yep.
Fucking Kevin Holland, good man, good lord.
And the new MVP has arrived, man. That style's tricky. I mean, he's explosive, right? I mean,
it is.
The movement,
really
everything about it. It's something that I thought a Kevin Holland will be able to figure out. Granted, maybe I didn't realize that the one thing with Kevin that, for better or worse, is the mental game. And I think he lost that battle going into it. And why I asked if you watched any of the interviews, because Michael Van Page did mention that leading into it, he felt like Kevin was doing some things that were uncharacteristic, that he felt was like nervous energy, or as New to This World mentioned, maybe sketcher comfort fit energy.
I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to cut you off right there. I'm going to say I didn't watch the MVP interview, but this is why I love this show. This is why I love that we call it No Filter. And this is ultimately the reason that I opted to not do a solo show and to have a co-host with the most here. Shout out to you, my guy. There's a reason we chose you. So we don't always agree. And this is one of those times where we probably are not going to agree. I think Kevin Holland did everything right coming into this fight. I think he did everything right coming into this camp. He worked on his grappling. He worked on a number of different things. I don't know. I do know, because you mentioned it earlier. You did a little bit of ratting yourself out, my guy. You said, I watched this fight on mute. I know you watched this fight out in public. So here's the thing. You watched this fight on mute. You didn't know what they were saying when they were saying things. You were looking for the commentary and for the corner coaching, like, where are you? And I'm so sorry. You missed a bit of vital information. So the bit of vital information here is in between the first and second round, Kevin Holland actually looked at his coaching corner and said, he's way faster than we thought. He's much faster than we thought, or much faster than we expected. Now, to me, that tells me two things. One, you're going to lose the fight. Because you planned for a much slower guy, and speed kills. How many times have you heard me say that? So fucking speed kills. And he admitted that he was a slower guy. So I think he came with the right game plan. I think he gave it everything he got. But at the same time, even though he gave it everything he got, he ain't got enough. And, speed kills. When someone is faster than you, it doesn't matter if you're stronger. Ask me the question that everybody asks comic book nerds. If you could have any superpower in the world, what would your superpower be? It would be to travel the speed of light. I would want to be the Flash. I would want to have a tap into the Speed Force, because I don't care if you're Superman. I don't care if you're Green Lantern. I don't care if you're fucking Wonder Woman. I don't care who you are. Can't hit what you can't see. And if I'm faster than the speed of light, you can't fucking see me. If I'm faster than you, you can't hit me. So that's the thing. I think speed kills, and I think MVP is going to be a vast problem for the rest of this weight class simply because of the speed that he brings to it. He is that guy. And I think the biggest revelation, like if you asked me the same question I asked you, like what stood out to you about this fight, if anything, I would tell you what stood out to me about this fight, Nano, is that Bellator sucks at their job. They did a piss poor job matchmaking this poor kid for the last 5 to 6 years. They let him fight cans. They let him fight nobodies, and he could have fought somebodies and built a much, much larger name for himself. And also could have built a lot more relevance in the title picture for himself. If they matched him up against the right type of people instead of cannon fodder as much as they did, he probably would have gotten taken into the UFC and given an instantaneous title shot. Something like Michael Chandler or something like Ben Askren. Right. He would have been held in much higher regard. But again, Bellator really dropped the ball here. And I think it shows truly in moments like this. Now, what should be next for him? Well, I'll tell you this. I didn't think he was going to have what it takes to even stand half a chance against Kevin Holland. But I was fucking wrong, right? I think we were all wrong. Most of us thought that Kevin Holland was going to go out here and walk through him. That simply wasn't the case. Last person Kevin Holland fought before this was Stephen Thompson, right? Last fight that was memorable. I say you give Stephen Thompson, who's now down to number 9, Michael Venom Page, who went from unranked to number 13. You don't give him a Neil Magny. You don't give him a Vicente Luque. And in my opinion, you don't give him a Jeff Neal. You give him a Stephen Thompson. And then if he beats Stephen Thompson, sorry to rain on the parade for you new to this world. I say if he beats Wonder Boy and he does it emphatically, you give him Ian Machado Gary.
Oh, ooh. New to this world, dropping some more fire in here. I'll speak for all the Striker fans here. Thank you, good sir. A lot of us out there. Page versus Wonder Boy is the fight we all need. Let's go. Holland doesn't deserve a top 10 guy, but he does deserve a top 15. Maybe a Neil Magny or Randy Brown, my brother. And honestly, regardless of gender, because I don't know if you're a guy or a girl, but new to this world, NTT Dub. Yeah, honestly, those are the two names that I was going to mention, was Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, obviously the Taekwondo versus Taekwondo or karate versus karate type style. I think that's a stylistic matchup we all would want to see. And then on top of that, maybe you do potentially, if you're the UFC, maybe you give them the other, this is a Pokemon match. I'm going to choose the ultimate hype killer in Neil Magny. That is a fun one as well, man. I like that name.
Neil Magny.
Killer. So Randy Brown would be fun too. Shout out Randy. He's a fan of the channel. He shouted us out before. Go check him out on Twitch as well if you're around there. He's got some good. If you haven't
checked him out, like obviously I'm a big Twitch guy as well, but check him out on YouTube. The Tiny Desk breakdowns are amazing. He had fucking Night Owl from The Watchmen on there. Honestly, super, super great YouTube channel. Rude Boy is a very, very great dude. And he gave me a compliment on my production value, and I really appreciated that.
Yeah. Live on Twitch. Shout out. He's the boy. He's a legend.
I had my fiance sending me messages via my phone and Facebook saying, just be you. Just relax. I can tell you're starstruck. So obviously, big Rude Boy fan. Be cool. Be cool. Play it cool. Play it aloof. Yeah, this world definitely doesn't miss. I think Randy Brown versus Kevin Holland. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to lie to you. It gets me very excited.
Tico Techie also must have watched that interview because MVP did mention a positive on positive or a negative on negative or two things not meshing well, like oil and vinegar, right? And that is basically what he mentioned on that fight, potentially with the Wonder Boy. Curious, Olin, if you would agree with that sentiment, if you think those two neutrals would turn into what MVP mentioned as a style. They both would default into a style fighting mode. Do you think that would end up happening?
Well, I'm going to answer your question with a question. And let me go ahead and propose it this way. Would you say that Wonderboy Thompson is a counter striker?
I mean, yeah, I would.
I think that's almost a fact at this point, right? Mm-hmm. And then from what we've seen in both Bellator and now Saturday night in the UFC, would you say that MVP is a counter striker?
I mean, to be honest, what I learned from him is not necessarily. I think he wants to be the one to. I mean, he throws his feints, and he's the one. He's like he leads the dance. I think he's the one that is the Venom Mamba-esque striker. He just lunges forward, right, and he gets you somehow. Is how I would describe it. But no, so I feel like he's the one that's throwing that first punch. No,
I want you to go back and rewatch the fight. I want you to go back and rewatch, even if you watch it on mute, that's fine. Go back and rewatch the fight. I think it appeared as though that MVP was throwing all of the first strikes. There were a lot of times where he was actually waiting for Holland to twitch. And the second he would even so much as feint, then he'd go. So if you have two people that are throwing a lot of feints and doing a lot of reading, I would ask you this. Would you say that, let's see, Derek Lewis is an exciting fighter, right?
Oh, hot balls? Hell yeah.
Right. Stipe Miocic, pretty fucking exciting fighter.
I mean, legend, of course.
Legend. And Francis Ngannou, equally as exciting.
Yeah, for better or worse.
But if you take those three fighters, right, 2 out of 3 of them have a very similar style. The other one has a very different style. The two that have a similar style are Ngannou and Lewis. We've seen those two fight each other before. How'd that go?
A lot of wrestling, huh?
I mean, it's known as one of the most boring fights in UFC history.
Mm-hmm.
So Francis Ngannou versus Derek Lewis.
That was a snoozer.
The number of strikes. So yeah, it wasn't a wrestling match. There were 0 takedowns thrown by Ngannou. and there were 0 landed by Derek Lewis, even though he attempted 2. But between the two of them, there were 31 strikes thrown and landed.
Oh,
31 strikes across 15 minutes. So they were landing less than a 10 strike per round clip between the two of them. That's fucking embarrassing. But both guys knew of each other's power. Both guys knew of the threats that each guy brought to the table, and they knew that it only took one shot to knock them out. Tico Tech, you know I love you, brother, but you also know I'm a big fan of playing Devil's Advocate, Devil's Avocado, so I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. Yeah, but they were heavyweight. Sucks ass. Always will. But heavyweight sucks ass. Always will. And that's fine. That's fine if you feel that way, my guy. Half of the fighters are morbidly obese. You're right. That's fine. Francis Ngannou ain't fucking one of them, kid. He's not morbidly obese. He's morbidly fucking crazy and apex-like. Look, both these guys are apex predators with one-shot knockout power, and the thing that separates them is about 100 pounds. The thing that's similar between them is this. If Wonder Boy lands the right shot on you and you're coming in, you're fucking dead in the water. If EVP lands the right shot on you and you're coming in, you're fucking dead in the water. So these guys, there is a chance that they will, and you're right, Derek Lewis is, yeah, you're right, fuck you. But there's a chance that these guys will respect each other to an extent to where they know the power coming in, and thus that will make them afraid of shuffling in themselves. That's where the problem lies. That's where this could end up being a kind of knock them down, drag them out bullshit fight. But I still say, shut the fuck up and take my money, kid. I'm here. I think that this is not one of those situations. I think this is one where, like, as they're walking out, like, you know, like every time something epic is happening, there's an internal soundtrack. And in the back of my mind, this is what I'd hear. You know what I'm saying? Like, we'd be getting the fuck down. We'd be getting excited, and we'd probably have had too much whiskey by that point because it would at least be the co-main event. So that's the next fight for me. I think it's a fucking no-brainer. 2 positives might make a negative. Yeah, that's fine if we're talking about math, but you know what doesn't work in MMA? Math. Not even MMA math. So move on, kid. I liked his performance. I thought it was great. Let's not muck it up by saying you don't want to fight Wonder Boy. I think he doesn't want to move forward into Wonder Boy because he saw what Wonder Boy did to Kevin Holland, and he's afraid it might happen to him as well.
I like that. It's a good call. Let's go. I can't wait. Either way, excited for MVP to be in the UFC. Might be a bit too late. Obviously, you'll want to see all of these fighters in their prime and for 20 years if you can, but it's not always the case. Excited. Let's enjoy them while we have them, is all I'll say.
Smoke them while you got them. Enjoy them while you have them. So, moving into the next. MMA Math has Triple C beating Ngannou. I think, is it MMAmath.com? One of the funniest sites you'll ever go to. I used to fuck around so much in there and just send things to Ki when we were working at Yelp. And also Nano. I think I sent him like a thing of how Ben Askren beats John Jones one time. That was a funny one. So moving into the next one. I'll be honest with you guys. In the main event, I got a shot to do because I was wrong on fucking Marlon Chito Vera. Instead of doing a shot for Chito Vera losing, I think I'm just going to do a shot for Dustin Poirier winning. So I'm going to go and pour that one up now. And we're going to go ahead and jump right on into the co-main event of the evening. That's right, folks. We had Benoit Saint-Denis, a.k.a. Benny St. Denis, a.k.a. the God of War, coming in against Louisiana's own, Lafayette's own, my favorite fighter, Dustin, the Diamond Poirier, folks. The man came out there and he stood the fuck up for Louisiana. He put the fuck on for Louisiana. And he said, I don't care if I've never won by guillotine in my life. I don't care if I never will win by guillotine in my life. Don't be silly. I'm going to jump the gilly every chance I fucking get. I'm pretty sure he attempted 42 guillotines before he got that knockout in round 2. But before I go off on a tangent and on a little rant, I'm going to let you take the lead here, Nano. Tell us what that performance did for you internally.
Oh, brother. Made me want to go get the bourbon maple sauce. That's the only thing I'm missing from my Dustin Poirier hot sauce collection. Ooh, rare stash. I like that, brother. Shout out Dustin as well.
Dustin Poirier rare stash, bourbon number 3. You know what I'm saying? This is what we're drinking this whole week. Obviously, me and Drew did quite a number on it across the weekend.
Well, yeah, I do, right? Because it was a hell of a performance. As Dana White said, this is what makes motherfuckers legendary, and that's what Dustin did this past weekend, man. I mean, that first round, boy, was it interesting, right? I mean, it was something that I guess we kind of expected to see. We expected the God of War, Benoit Saint-Denis, the special agent operatives for France. This guy's an absolute beast, a stud. We knew it was going to be 25 minutes. And Dustin knew he was going to be strong, and we knew he was going to be technically sound. We saw a lot of great striking from distance. We saw great striking in the pocket. We even saw some Muay Thai clinches, some takedown attempts, some submission attempts, some landed takedowns. Like Benoit was, I mean, if it were just a 5-minute fight, you're looking at it like, oh man, he sprinted that finish line. He was looking really good. And like I kind of felt, and like Dustin even mentioned after, is, hey, I'm curious if he can maintain this pace over 25 minutes. Well, Dustin didn't need more than 20. He did not need 25. He did not need 15. He didn't even need 5 more. Okay. What he did was he was able to make some adjustments in that second round, and he was able to keep the fight within the realm that Dustin loves it. And it's in a phone booth. It's both one leg within the tire. It's right in the pocket. And it's that dirty boxing, and Dustin took over, man. I mean, couple shots that dazed him, couple more to really get him on skates. The guillotines was obviously what is kind of still in the show, and what most people were talking about, and what you could definitely appreciate, because, hey, you don't land every gilly that you don't throw up there, right? You miss every one you don't throw up. So appreciate him at least attempting it. Even when his corner is screaming at him, hey, don't do it. I think that's kind of my style. If you tell me you don't do it, now I kind of want to go do it. So you could appreciate all of that about Dustin. But again, man, his striking in the pocket, his ability to just throw those clean jabs. And it felt like, at least my impression was, during that final exchange, you see him hit him a couple times while Dustin's on the cage. Kind of gets him down. Obviously tries to get the guillotine, gets away from it. They get back in the center, and you see Dustin again, kind of like, I don't know how to explain it, but just felt like, again, in the pocket, like is leaning into the punches and just kind of knows where to put his head in the right spot. So when Benoit's throwing in, he's right off the center line. He's, maybe it's skimming off of his head, but I'm right where I need to be. I'm on my center line. I'm, like Owen's kindly showing us here live on camera, I'm purposeful. Everything is on the center line. I'm balanced, and I'm throwing with power. Like everything is going to hurt if I land. And that's what Dustin was doing. He was showcasing his ability to, under fire, be perfectly balanced, have his footwork down, and to land clean right hook, clean left hook. And that's all it takes is you're doing everything right. It starts from your feet. You engage the hips, your head, everything's in the center line, off the center line, but it's all, perpendicular. You're balanced. Again, I keep reiterating that but that's what you saw. And that's what makes a perfect fighter. It's having that boxing pedigree. It's having the ability to wrestle. It's being a black belt jiu-jitsu artist. And it's having that fucking dog mentality. And that's exactly what freaking Dustin Poirier is, man. He's a dog. He's a savage. Let's go. And this is what legends are made of, man. Again, he went out there. He was able to get the job done. I think Benoit Saint-Denis is an absolute savage. He's someone we'll be excited about and looking forward to talking about here over the next decade if he chooses to fight for that long. But again, he learned a valuable lesson, I think, when it comes to either cardio or just being able to try to keep that kind of fighting pace is next level. And I think he learned a valuable lesson in fighting someone like Dustin, where you're not going to be able to knock everyone out. So when it comes to some of those skills, still some development needs to be had. But Dustin proved, man, he is still at the top of his game. He is still a motherfucker to deal with. And man, I saw Justin Gaethje's reaction to the fight. I mean, if neither of them are going to fight Islam, I'd love to see them fight each other again. If Max beats Justin, I'd love to see Dustin Max. Maybe Dustin Nate. Maybe Dustin Connor. I mean, Dustin can do whatever he wants, man. That's the beauty of the position that he's in now. He's a prize fighter. Hell, I'd love to go see him knock out Logan Paul or Jake Paul if he really wanted to. But realistically, at this stage, honestly, maybe it's Islam. I think the representative, who's the manager, Amir Alabazi, or I probably butchered the name, but Islam's manager, who represents a few of the fighters, said that if Dustin was presented to Islam would take that fight as well. So love hearing that for Dustin. And as a fan, I say, why the hell not? What do you think, brother?
I mean, Islam Makhachev is the only name that makes sense for my guy Dustin Poirier. I mean, I think he is ready. The stars have aligned. I said it. I should have tweeted it the day of, but I literally said it to Drew before the fights even started. I was like, if he wins tonight, trajectory works out to where both these guys that should be up, or the people that should be up, are already paired up in fights, and thus they won't be able to actually have a fight against Islam Makhachev when they should. So it's perfect. It's literally the stars have aligned. He got a great fight. He got a noteworthy fight, and he got it in a noteworthy way. So give this man his flowers and give him a title shot, folks. I think he's more than queued up and teed up for a title shot. I think now is the time. And also, Tico Tech LLC asked in the chat, what was Randy Brown's YouTube channel again? Randy Brown's YouTube channel is at Rude Boy. It is titled under Rude Boy Studios. I will actually go ahead and post up a link in the chat right now. There that is. Go ahead, copy and paste that into the browser and you should be good to go. New to this world said, if Dustin decides to stay and doesn't get a title fight, the BMF fight is needed. BSD is such a fun fighter, so he should get the winner of Turner versus Moicano. I agree with that. I think BSD should get the winner of Turner versus Moicano. And I've also said this before. I know you're new to the channel, but I said this a few months ago, actually, that after that Justin Gaethje win over Dustin Poirier, they're 1-1. And at one point, they fought in Justin Gaethje's home state. So now they should fight in Dustin Poirier's home state in the Superdome in New Orleans for that BMF title. Maybe after Dustin possibly beats Islam Makhachev and gets the lightweight title. It'll be the first time we get to see it get unified, baby. That'd be a fun one. So I'm here for it. I think that's the way that it should shake down. And I was just ultimately impressed by Dustin Poirier. Great human being, great hot sauces, great bourbon, even greater fighter. So definitely looking forward to watching this guy's next fight. I'm always enthusiastic to watch every single time he walks out. Let's see what Tico Tech said here. Speaking of fighters' YouTube channels, DJ and Money Moicano have amazing channels. I'll have to check out Money Moicano's. DJ, I'm definitely subscribed to. Big fan of that guy's breakdowns.
Great breakdowns. Great breakdowns.
Great breakdowns. We did pour up the shot for Dustin Poirier. So,
here we go. Here we go now.
We're good. This is the final one of the night because this is my preemptive shot for Marlon Vera. Really, I'm just doing it for a win instead of a loss.
I like it.
Can we also just talk about, before we even start breaking down this fight, the fact that Marlon Chito Vera absorbed as many strikes and significant strikes as Chris Patino did?
Oh, and Chris Patino was a 3-round fight. My goodness. Cheers, brother. To the cyborg Chris Patino. And to the Sugar Show. And still, baby. It happened just the way I wanted. Dustin win, Sugar win. Let's go.
My goodness, bro.
What they put romance.
Sugar Sean O'Malley. He got it done. This was your guy, so I'm gonna let you take the lead on this one, my guy. Let's hear the breakdown.
Yeah, man. I mean, I was excited. I think a part of me going into it, seeing a lot of the media, hearing a lot of the takes, was feeling like Sugar was honestly going to go in there and hopefully do what he needed to do. But I was really worried because I am a huge Marlon Chito Vera fan. And a part of me thought, man, just like nobody thought Sugar was going to be Aljo, that same kind of thing can potentially happen this Saturday. Would I be surprised? Absolutely not. Would I be a little hurt? Yes. But would I also be happy? Hell fucking yeah. As an Ecuadorian, I was super excited to see the welcome he was getting. But as things got closer, and honestly, I think the weigh-ins is what scared me the most. Chito did not look that good. He had to get naked, which, I mean, I guess it's kind of whatever in the grand scheme, but just a part of me, I don't know, it was kind of a gut thing where when I'm looking at him, and then when you start to think about the nerves and you start to think about the stage and everything else, and then like we talked about, brother, and like all too well, speed kills. And I just had a feeling that when it comes to that speed game and seeing Chito face off against someone that has that advantage and has the technical skills to essentially smother Chito's game and not let him get his game going, like a Corey Sandhagen did, essentially. Suga did the same thing. He did it in different ways. And so as the fight was unfolding, in my head, I'm like, oh boy, it is like starting to become a landslide victory here. Marlon. And then I'm thinking, well, maybe he's, we know he starts off slow. So maybe he's just kind of sacrificing that first round. Okay, the second one, okay, like is when I'm not necessarily too worried, because I'm like, okay, this is kind of how he usually starts off. And that knee from hell, my goodness. Suga lands it, and then just really runs away with it from there. It was an absolute technical, just masterclass. And I highly recommend everyone going to check. Definitely DJ's, Demetrius Johnson or Mighty Mouse's YouTube channel, his breakdown on it. Corey Sandhagen had a really good breakdown as well. He really mimics Suga's style well, and his tendencies and what he likes to do. And I mean, he's right. Like it's his ability to move in and out, side to side, and the feints mixed with speed and accuracy with the hands, and obviously the leg kicks and everything else as well. But like it all just comes together so like gosh darn perfectly. He's leaning, yep, as Olin kindly did there. Those the right hand leans that direction, bounces in and out. Those the teep kicks. Those another teep kick. Those the 1-2 off center line. And again, and that's all coupled with different feints, different looks. If you're a football guy, it's hey, I may run the same dive play 2 or 3 times in a row, but on that fourth one, I'm going to give you a different look that's going to open up that touchdown play. It's not going to happen the first time, not the second, maybe not even the third, but I'm setting up for that 4th or 5th or 6th setup shot. I'm trying to lullaby you into it. And that's what Suga does for the first minute and that 25th minute. And the other thing, lastly, I want to touch on before I hand it off to you, my brother, and what impressed you with Suga and maybe what you were hoping to see a little bit more of from Chito, but Suga's mentality, man, and his ability to stay calm is what I think is something that's unique, something that you don't see too often. And that impresses me and that excites me, and thinks that his run is going to continue on. And even if he does get squared off with a Merab, it's hard for me to bet against someone like a Suga that I know is doing all the little things. But now when you really start to break down and see what he does to his opponents when they're in there, I mean, it's starting to feel like an Anderson Silva, Izzy Adesanya. I mean, you name any other great striker that was a fan favorite of yours growing up, and it's like, man, I mean, he's doing all those things. He's in his flow state right now, so I'm excited for him. Sky's the limit. Chito is going to bounce back 100%, and I think he still took that next step in his stardom. Excited for what doors are going to continue to open up for him, and however long he wants to fight. And this story is one he just can't freaking help but love. Curious to hear your thoughts, brother, and just anything else that stood out with Suga, or maybe that you're hoping to see more from Chito. Did you do it?
I did the double mute. It's got to happen at least once a show, folks. So we're here, and it happened, and we're back. So one of the things I really wanted to see him do a little bit more than he actually did, obviously, was stick with that leg kick game plan. Right. He started off landing really, really well to the legs, but then he got away from it quite a bit. Obviously, he landed about 38% of his strikes that he did land to the legs, 46% to the head, 15% to the body. Wouldn't have minded him going 30-30-30 or 33-33-33 for that matter, across the board. Sean O'Malley, meanwhile, landed 65% to the head, 25% to the body, and 8% to the leg. Not a lot of leg damage coming from O'Malley. More of a headhunter, and you saw it. I mean, by the end of the fight, Chito Vera looked like a scene from The Passion of the Christ, folks. It was bad news bears. But I digress. Chito Vera is one of those guys that is just seemingly physically impossible to put away. He has a Max Holloway-esque chin and ability to not be put down. In fact, he still wasn't knocked down in this fight. I know it may have looked like it, but homie took a knee. He didn't go down. So good on him. Still didn't go down in this fight. Still 0 knockdowns in his MMA career. And I mean, I don't think he lost a whole lot of stock in this fight. Did Marlon Chito Vera? He landed 89 strikes compared to 232. Looks one-sided on the numbers match. And I mean, when I was watching it, did feel a little bit hopeless. Did feel a little bit one-sided. But at the same time, I never gave up hope on my guy, Chito Vera. I thought he was always in the fight to an extent. And because of that, I don't feel like he lost a ton of steam on this fight. I don't feel like he lost a ton of anything, really. I think he only gained everything. So, I mean, the guy looked really good, did Sean O'Malley. One thing I learned about Sean O'Malley, since you asked me like what stood out to me the most or what I learned in this fight, is this. I will tell you I learned something. I definitely learned something in this fight. And that was that Chito Vera can throw the jab step cross from either stance. And he can throw it with the same exact level of efficiency. The way that he's able to do that, that's what I was mimicking in the back earlier, is that jab step cross. So like he jabs, right? This is the lead. And as he jabs, he steps into the cross. So you can see how much distance I cover with that. Jab, step, cross. Versus jab, cross. Jab, step, cross. Versus jab, cross.
I like it.
Okay, you see what I'm saying? So like, and that's up close. If I jump back and do it once you start talking again, like you'll notice when you're breaking it down, it's very different. So a jab cross, I love a good jab cross. That's literally the 1-2. How many times have you heard of the good old 1-2 punch? But this guy's 1-2, he steps into the 2. So there's a couple things that are taking place there, right? He's stepping in. So as you saw in my previous demonstration, he's gaining a significant amount of distance on that drive. He's also gaining more leverage and more momentum, right? Because if I already know how to throw a 1-2, right? That 2 is out almost mechanical like. The second the 1 hits, it's coming back and the 2 is launching. The way that Sean O'Malley does it is he throws the 1 and then steps into the 2. So he's launching his footwork forward too. So imagine the torque and the momentum of this with an added layer of pressure, of power, of weight, of sheer velocity of movement here. So honestly, from someone that you know this, right? O'Malley, fucking Snoop Dogg shouting his name. I was never a fan, but I am now. He has become the Conor McGregor of today. And I will say he doesn't have the mouthpiece. He doesn't have the marketing power or the ability to put asses in seats. But he's become the Conor McGregor of today in the fact that I don't care so much for what he does outside of the octagon. But if he's in there, I'm watching. And if it costs money, I'm paying. So he's got that going for him. He definitely has a Michael Cera mouthpiece. I completely agree. Oh, wow. Really? You like that? That's cool. Good. That's about as aggressive as he comes off. New to This World said the way Suga switched up his entire life outside of the fight shows a level of maturity most fighters in their 20s lack. His mindset and training have this man poised for a lengthy title run. Chito looked like the T1000 from T2. No matter what you hit him with, he walks through. Chito's stock definitely didn't lose momentum. Thank you for agreeing with me on that.
Good breakdown.
I definitely agree with that breakdown. I don't think he lost any momentum. Definitely look at a T1000 from T2. Like the dude was just walking through the fire as if it did not harm him. So, I mean,
yeah,
I'm all about it, man.
Yeah.
I feel like his stock rose. And Sugar Sean O'Malley, I mean, obviously his star is shining very, very bright. Now, I am curious, right? Who do you think he should fight next?
This got to be Merab. I mean, there's no other way. Honestly, my dark horse would be someone like Corey Sandhagen because I just love Corey. I think Corey deserves the title shot, but not as much as Merab does at this point. I mean, it's obvious. I don't think Ilya is I guess, and if that's maybe part of the question as well, or because I know that that's who Suga asked for, but I do not think he should fight Ilya. I do think that the jumping around divisions and things like that are happening a bit too often, especially with a champion that just got his title. He hasn't even fought anyone in his own division yet. So I don't think I love that necessarily. And I don't think Dana loves that either. I actually think he, in fact, probably hates it. So I don't think he's going to be pushing for that at all. But I do think with Suga and Merab, a lot of great content, a lot of build up. I mean, Merab was the one that weighed in as well as the backup or the alternate. So I think you do reward him. My only question is, how long is he willing to wait? I think if you're Suga, you milk it as long as absolutely possible. I'm talking like 6-8 months, maybe even a year. Like, I would not be in any rush, especially since I did not abstain any injuries this past fight, any serious ones, as Suga was saying. Yeah, I'm going to spend the next year. I'm going to maybe, I don't even know if I beef up my frame, or I guess more so just strengthen my wrestling and grappling game. I mean, we know he's good on the ground when it comes to jiu-jitsu, but Merab is going to be relentless at trying to attack the legs and do those types of things. So if I'm Suga, I'm going to spend as much time as possible, one, with the belt, but two, to prepare for that kind of game. I mean, yeah, that's just the reality, but it has to be Merab, right? I mean, and if you're Chito, I think someone like Piotr, or maybe a Henry Cejudo. The thing with Chito is he's going to be the A side of anyone that he fights, even if they're ranked higher than them. Like, Chito's a fan favorite. He's going to be someone that everyone's going to be watching, following, rooting for. Dude's got good style. He's got a lot of things that are opened up for him after fighting. But yeah, I think maybe a Chito, Piotr Jan would be a fun one. And then Suga Merab for the title in the Sphere, or maybe late this year, early next year. But if I'm Suga, I'm postponing that as long as possible. What do you think, brother?
I mean, the fight that needs to happen or should happen is Suga versus Merab. I don't think there's any way around it. I think Merab has more than earned his way to the title shot. As much as Suga doesn't want to fight him, doesn't matter. That should be the fight to make. However, Sugar Sean is what he says he is, a superstar. So he gets to call his shot, I suppose. And if he wants to go to Spain, España, and fight Ilia Topuria, who are we to say no? I mean, that's going to put asses in seats. Ilia Topuria is the most marketable star in the UFC today. He could be the next Conor McGregor if he wasn't trying so hard to be Conor McGregor. So I mean, it is what it is, right? I think that is the next big star that they have in the UFC. I think this fight makes the utmost sense, but from a meritocracy standpoint and a democracy standpoint, Merab's the guy. It should be Merab in a red jacket and a pole match. A red jacket on a pole match. Yeah, man, I'm all about it. Put him in a ladder match, and instead of the money in the briefcase, it'll be the red jacket in the briefcase. I mean, either way, Merab versus Sean is the way that you slice it, folks. I think that's definitely the match to make. And I feel like I'd be crazy to say anything else. So that's that. We do have a hell of a stacked card here in UFC Apex 197. No, it's not 197, but it is UFC Apex card. We got Tai Tuivasa coming in against Marcin Tybura. Ooh. And we got Brian Battle against Angelusa. We got OSP, who's still fighting somehow, against Kennedy and Chekwu. I mean, it's not the most stacked card in the entire world, but there's definitely some damn good fights to be excited about. And you can bet that we will be hammering some parlays on Thursday's episode. So definitely make sure that you tune in to Thursday's episode here, folks. We will be live at 8 p.m. on Tuesday or on Thursday. It's already Tuesday. And we were live at 8 p.m. So not wrong. We will be live at 8 p.m. on Thursday. We will be breaking down the new UFC card coming up, the UFC Apex card here. Marcin Tybura coming in against Tai Tuivasa. If Tai wins, you already know next week we are going to be doing a shoey. We might even do a shoey on Thursday. Who knows? We'll find out. Either way, we appreciate every single person that tuned into this episode. If you're new, if you're returning, old, new, somewhere in between, either way, We appreciate you. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, smash that bell for notifications. And as we like to say on this show, keep on going, keep on growing. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the MMAnomaly Show. No filter. As you may have been able to tell, we dig the MMA, and our passion is to dive deep into the upcoming fights, give you our expert breakdowns, and help you make sense of all the chaos that is the fight game. We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, make sure to find us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch at MMAnomaly. Be cool, and we'll see you next time.